At Campbell House, Moon, a noble young man, suddenly wakes up in confusion as he remembers dying in a car accident. He wonders if he has somehow traveled through time. Looking around the room, he notices the palace-style furniture and Western decorations. He then checks the mirror and realizes the face staring back looks almost exactly like when he was a teenager. Moon panics as he wonders where exactly he has traveled. After calming down, he realizes he now looks like a handsome noble and makes him suspect this world might be like a game. Thinking carefully, he suddenly wonders if he is just imagining things after the accident. To confirm his suspicion, he grabs a knife to test something. Moon lightly cuts his finger and immediately feels the sharp pain as he finally accepts that he has truly traveled to another world. However, his expression turns dark as memories from this body suddenly surface. He learns that Moon once blasphemed the royal family, which caused him to lose his noble status and be exiled from the empire forever. Moon lies back in shock as he realizes the name is not just a coincidence. He remembers that he has transmigrated into a villain's body from a novel he used to read. The female protagonist is the strongest noble who grows by defeating monsters and demons. Meanwhile, Moon is only a reckless villain who constantly causes trouble and gets in the protagonist's way. Realizing this means he is now the doomed villain himself as he holds his head in frustration. Moon panics as he wonders what he should do. Suddenly, a maid knocks on the door. He tells them to come in, and Anna enters while addressing him politely. She tells him the outfit for tomorrow's banquet has arrived and asks him to try it on. Anna notices something unusual, so she asks if he is injured, but Moon casually explains that he accidentally scratched his skin and asks if she has medicine or a bandage to stop the bleeding. Hearing this, Anna calmly kneels down and says she can handle it, rendering Moon speechless. She gently takes his hand and begins tending to the wound. Moon is shocked after what Anna did. She calmly explains that every drop of his blood is precious and asks him not to hurt himself so easily. He nervously says he will remember that. After finishing, Anna politely excuses herself and leaves the room. After she leaves, Moon is left stunned inside his room. His face turns red, then rolls in his bed as he secretly thinks she is incredibly cute. Meanwhile, Anna suddenly pauses outside the door as she remembers that he actually thanked her. Moon realizes he still has everything most people would envy and recalls that his downfall began when he provoked the female protagonist during his coming-of-age ceremony. Determined to avoid that fate, he decides he must not do anything reckless at the upcoming event. However, he suddenly remembers that Anna sent the dress for tomorrow's ceremony. Then his expression instantly turns stiff. Moon immediately panics and curses out loud. In desperation, he calls out for any kind of help he can think of, wondering if he has any cheats he can use. Left with no other choice, he decides the only solution is to personally apologize to the protagonist during the ceremony and resolve their conflict. Determined to endure whatever humiliation it takes, he convinces himself that a real man must be able to bend when necessary. After making up his mind, Moon decides that he will immediately kneel and apologize to avoid provoking her when he meets the protagonist tomorrow. Just as he prepares himself, something suddenly hits his head and knocks him forward. Looking back in confusion, he notices a strange book lying on the bed. This excites him as the plug-in has arrived. Looking at the strange book, he excitedly celebrates that fate may not have abandoned him yet. Determined to change the original ending, he decides to use this chance to control his own destiny. However, when he opens the book, his expression quickly turns confused. To his confusion, Moon discovers the book is completely blank with no words inside. Wondering if there is a special way to activate it, he starts thinking about the world setting. He pricks his finger and lets a drop of blood fall onto the pages. Suddenly, a strange dark energy begins to appear around it and engulfs Moon as he recoils in shock. He suddenly loses consciousness and finds himself restrained in a dark room. Moon slowly regains awareness. Then Anna suddenly appears and says she has been waiting for him for a long time. Bound in chains and surrounded by pain, he struggles to move as she calmly explains that the suffering is meant to teach him a lesson. Anna then criticizes his cruel and selfish nature, saying he brings pain to others instead of kindness. She adds that she will cleanse him again and again with her love and that they will remain together forever. Terrified, Moon struggles against the chains as she declares that not even death can separate them. He screams in panic as he suddenly wakes up in his room, realizing it was just a dream. However, the lingering pain on his body makes the experience feel far too real. Thinking back, he suspects the book might have shown him some kind of prophetic vision, so he quickly opens it again. To his surprise, a warning suddenly appears on the pages telling him not to change fate. As the dark energy fades, Moon realizes the book is warning him not to change the original fate or it would lead to a tragic outcome. Looking out the window, he reflects that the original ending was not that terrible since he at least survived. Then he remembers that the useless second-generation noble eventually became a beggar, but convinces himself that his situation will be different. Moon confidently reminds himself that he was once a hard-working person who survived many struggles in modern society. He convinces himself that losing noble status is not a big deal, and that he can start over in another country using his knowledge and experience. He later enjoys a luxurious meal he never had in his previous life, happily eating the delicious food. His mom, Duchess Joyce, notices his good mood and asks why he seems unusually happy today. Duke Leon, his dad, mentions that Moon must be excited about tomorrow's banquet. Moon calmly agrees. While Joyce proudly talks about how many noble girls might be charmed by him, but Moon is already engaged. She complains that Princess Celia is too cold and not worthy of their son. Hearing this, Moon simply smiles and questions who Celia is, then he remembers that she is the Empire's beloved third princess. However, he then bluntly asks if they truly know what kind of person their son really is. He explains that in the original story, his actions would eventually cause the Campbell family to lose their status and disappear from the Empire's noble circle. Realizing the terrible future waiting for them, he quietly decides he cannot accept that ending and must find another way to deal with the coming fate. Moon realizes his exile was caused by his dad's treason during a power struggle, so he decides to remove the Campbell family from the incident. With only one day left before the coming-of-age ceremony, Moon knows he must quickly find a way to resolve the conflict with Celia. He suspects the mansion may hide something related to the plot, so he decides to sneak out later and investigate. Meanwhile, Noelle, one of their maids, walks down the hallway while Moon is lost in thought, causing them to accidentally bump into each other. Noelle kneels on the floor in pain after spilling the black tea prepared for their masters. Moon apologizes and explains he was lost in thought while Noelle looks up in shock. He extends his hand to help her up, but she panics immediately. Embarrassed, Noelle hurriedly apologizes and tries to clean the stain from his clothes. But the mark will not go away, and she thinks she is finished. Noelle panics and begs Moon not to punish her. After spilling the tea, Moon looks confused since it is only a small accident. As he supports her, he notices her body is burning hot and realizes she has a fever. So Moon tells her she must rest if she is sick, but she insists on working to prepare for tomorrow's ceremony. Anna arrives and Moon asks her to arrange for Noelle to rest. He asks for her name and Noelle finally introduces herself. However, Anna worries the ceremony tomorrow has already left them short on staff. Moon decides that any sick servants should rest and orders them to recruit temporary workers from outside the mansion. Anna obeys his orders and passes it to the head maid. As Moon walks away, Noelle mentions how he previously refused to hire outsiders, but Anna tells her to just follow his orders and rest. Anna is in deep thought as Moon realizes there are subtle changes compared to the past. Meanwhile, several pieces of jewelry suddenly fall onto the floor. While Moon continues rummaging through the treasure chest and searching for the item he remembers, he recalls that the only way to deal with a magic genius like Celia is through a special potion that is expensive and illegal. He finally finds the item and remembers how difficult it was to obtain in the original story. The item turns out to be a VIP voucher for the underground black market. Later that night, Moon heads to the Chessford Chamber of Commerce and tells his attendants to wait while he goes to buy gold and silver jewelry for his parents. Moon walks through the dark streets. Following the route, he remembers he makes his way through the tunnels until he reaches a hidden door. A guard suddenly stops him and asks who is coming. Moon looks for Carrion and presents his credential. After checking it, the guard allows him to enter the Leopold underground black market. Inside, Moon sees various potion ingredients and magical synthetic beasts being sold. However, he ignores these items since they are not what he came for. Moon enters a small shop, then the masked owner greets him enthusiastically. Moon asks for a potion that is colorless and odorless and can make someone unconscious for several hours. Thinking Moon only wants to play tricks, the owner tries to recommend other shops for a fee. Moon refuses and prepares to leave, but the owner quickly admits that she actually has the potion. The owner tells Moon the potion is rare and asks him to wait while she looks for it. As she searches through the shelves, Moon realizes the masked owner is actually a woman. He believes she is a powerful beauty who controls this place and thinks building a good relationship with her may help him later. The shop owner tells Moon to wait a little longer while she searches for the item. Suddenly, the door opens and catches Moon's attention. Another cloaked guest enters the shop and the owner greets them. The mysterious guest then asks for the same type of potion, surprising the owner about the strange occurrence. Moon senses a faint fragrance coming from her and begins to suspect it might be a woman. Although he knows the potion will likely be used to harm someone, he decides he cannot interfere. Meanwhile, the owner finally finds the potion and presents 2 bottles. Moon questions the bright color, but the owner says it becomes undetectable in drinks and 1 drop can knock an elephant unconscious, astonishing Moon. The owner confirms the potion is real and tells them the price is 130,000 a meal with no bargaining allowed. However, the guest calmly says she does not have enough money and refuses to pay with a meal. Instead, she offers valuable information, but the owner refuses. The guest convinces her that her intel is far more expensive than the potion. The owner finds the information interesting, but asks if it is true. The guest calmly says the owner can verify it herself. Satisfied, the owner accepts the deal and hands over the potion. The guest thanks her and leaves the shop. Afterward, the owner turns to Moon and asks how he plans to pay, and he simply tells her to swipe his card. She tells Moon to keep the crystal card and gives him another bottle as a small gift, explaining it works better when paired with the red potion. Moon thanks her and then asks about the information the guest mentioned earlier. The owner becomes curious and offers to sell that information to him as well, quoting a price of 90,000. The owner raises the price to 900,000, but Moon refuses to buy it. Thinking the black market is too shady and profit-driven, he decides to find a more reliable partner. After that, he leaves the shop while the owner casually bids him goodbye. The owner takes off her mask, revealing it to be Ariel, and wonders who she should sell the information to. Remembering the conflict between the second prince and the Duke's faction, she decides to sell it to both sides and profit from the situation, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. The next night, the banquet begins at Campbell's palace. Marquise, a nobleman, introduces his 3rd daughter and asks her to greet Moon, but she becomes flustered and quickly runs away. Her father apologizes for her shyness, while Moon politely says it is fine. Already expecting the reaction, he realizes many nobles are watching him with the same expression. He reflects that the original owner of his body had a terrible reputation. His dad then praises Moon for his performance and says he is no longer worried about the ceremony. Moon simply promises to do his best. Everyone falls silent as the host announces the arrival of the 3rd in line to the Leopold Empire. The pure white girl blessed by the goddess of ice and snow appears. Celia graces the banquet with her beauty. Moon's dad leaves to receive the other dukes and reminds him not to neglect the princess. Moon approaches Celia and greets her politely. He compliments her beauty and says she looks charming today. Celia thanks him for the compliment, but calmly remarks that such praise is rare coming from him. Moon laughs and says Celia makes him sound like a rude man. She agrees. Then Moon politely escorts her to rest until the banquet begins. As she leaves, Moon admits she is beautiful but terrifying, just like the first female led in the original story. Celia quietly senses that he feels different than before. Celia wonders if Moon has become more polite than before. Meanwhile, he overhears nobles gossiping about an illegitimate daughter who defeated her fiancé in a duel and was made Count Buggard's heir. As the crowd whispers about her status, Moon notices a girl entering the hall and realizes she is the true female protagonist of the original story. Ariel enters the hall and greets Moon politely. Moon casually replies that he is doing fine. Suddenly, his servant angrily calls out Ariel's rudeness, but Moon swiftly grabs him and slams him down. Moon politely says he has been doing well lately and thanks Ariel for her concern. Ariel is surprised by his attitude, noticing he did not call her an illegitimate daughter like before. Moon then turns to Lily and leaves her shocked that he knows her name. Moon smiles and notes that he should never forget his guests' names. Suddenly, Ariel slaps Moon's hand and asks what he is up to. She grabs him by the collar, then tells him she only came for his dad's sake, and warns him not to have any evil thoughts toward Lily. Ariel leaves with Lily, while Moon sighs and knows her impression of him will not change easily. Moon decides that after tonight their paths will become completely separate. Under the witness of the nobles, he finishes his speech and officially becomes the heir of the Campbell family. Believing everything has gone according to the original story, Moon finally relaxes and thinks the night is over. Moon decides it is finally time to proceed with his real plan. After spotting Celia standing alone, he approaches her and apologizes for leaving the princess unattended earlier. He then politely invites her to dance and compliments her beauty. Celia reluctantly accepts the invitation. As the nobles noticed the two beginning to dance, Ariel and Lily also turned their attention toward them. While dancing together, Ariel praises his steps, but he calmly replies that he is still only at a beginner level. Celia notices that he has changed and questions if it is real. Remembering how he once invited a viscount's daughter in the past, Moon awkwardly reacts with embarrassment, while Celia asks if she imitated his rudeness well. Moon apologizes and asks Celia to forget what happened in the past. As the music continues, he quietly asks if she could come to his room afterward, explaining that he wants to discuss their engagement in detail. Moon asks Princess Celia if they can discuss their engagement privately. He says he knows the marriage is only a political arrangement ordered by the king. He adds that canceling it could affect the royal family's credibility, but suggests they work together to end the engagement. Celia agrees that the matter should be discussed between the two of them alone. Moon realizes Celia accepted his suggestion and decides to play along, so the plan continues smoothly. Celia then suddenly asks where his room is and leaves him stunned. She says there is no need to wait for the dance to end and tells him they should go now. Before he can react, she grabs him and drags him away from the hall. Meanwhile, Myron and Risa, assassins dressed as maids, notice them and insult Moon. They decide to act quickly. After arriving at Moon's room, he offers her red wine, but Celia refuses as she does not drink alcohol at all. Realizing his plan will not work, Moon worries since the medicine is red and usually mixed with wine. He then asks what she would like instead, and Celia asked for coffee or black tea. Celia looks confused and Moon explains that due to strict rules at the ceremony, the only drinks available are red wine and black tea. Since she refuses alcohol, he suggests they drink black tea instead. Moon then happily leaves to prepare it. Celia watches him silently, wondering why he looks so cheerful just from making tea. Moon secretly mixes several drops of the potion just in case, since Celia is a strong magician. She suddenly appears behind him and startles him, but he quickly finishes preparing the drink. He then politely asks her to take a seat, prompting him to sweat and panic. He is relieved when the medicine shows no magical fluctuations and believes he avoided being caught. Suddenly, he notices the spilled potion, prompting him to panic as his original plan to dilute and sell it is completely ruined. Just then, Celia calls for him and Moon quickly regains his composure. Moon returns and apologizes for the wait. Celia looks at the drink, noticing that the tea is unusually red and seems to glow. Moon quickly claims it is a rare tea his family bought from the east. Celia finds him suspicious and tells Moon to drink first. Moon insists he would never tamper with the drinks, but she says it is proper etiquette for the host to drink first. Celia stops him as he takes a sip and casually switches their cups. Suddenly, she freezes instantly after drinking. Moon calls out to Celia as the drug quickly takes effect. She glares at him and accuses him, but she suddenly collapses onto the floor. Moon watches silently as she loses consciousness. Realizing the medicine worked, he notes that several drops made the effect much stronger than expected. In the original story, the female lead tries to kill him shortly after they both lose consciousness, so he quickly begins preparing the scene. He adjusts Celia's clothes slightly and messes up her appearance to make it look convincing. After struggling with his own outfit, Moon finally manages to take it off. Everything is ready and all that remains is to wait for the main character to arrive. Moon checks the time. He realizes half an hour has already passed, but Ariel still has not appeared. He starts to feel uneasy and wonders what went wrong. Thinking back, he recalls that she should have had her clothes stained by an ill maid. She would go to the bathroom to clean them, then she would catch Moon and the princess. He suddenly pauses after realizing that the sick maid was supposed to be Noelle. Moon starts to panic since he asked Noelle to rest, thinking that the original storyline will change as the princess is unconscious. Celia suddenly awakens as Moon calls it a serious problem. He realizes Celia has already been affected, but he doesn't know she is already trying to get up. He then notices the temperature suddenly drops, and before he can react, Celia releases a burst of icy power that freezes the surroundings. Celia suddenly grabs him as the freezing aura spreads. He tries to explain, but she moves closer and she feels her body heating up. Moon panics and says this state is not normal and tells her to wait as he tries to call a doctor. The ice spreads as Celia presses him down and grabs onto him. He calls out to her and tries to wake her. He silently calls for Ariel to save him, but Celia stops him and acts on instinct. Meanwhile, Ariel brushes the stain from her clothes, complaining how careless Lily is for getting the cake on her. She senses something, then looks around before calling out to see who is there. As she moves forward, a maid stops her. Anna appears and politely tells her the area ahead is restricted. When Ariel asks why, Anna refuses to explain and tells her to turn back. She suddenly notices Ariel's clothes are dirty and offers to help. Anna uses magic to clean her instantly. Ariel is surprised that even the maids here can use magic. Anna then reminds her that a limited amount of cake will be served at the banquet, exciting Ariel. She thanks Anna and leaves to get the cake. The maid watches her go before turning away. Ariel briefly recalls how strange Anna is and senses another person hiding but dismisses them. She also comments that Celia is already a grown-up. Ariel rushes off and focuses on getting the cake instead. Meanwhile, Miran hides behind the door and asks if Ariel is their mission target. Risa then states that her former partner, number 9, failed the mission after being killed by Ariel despite being stronger. Miran confirms the setup was done by the Lionheart King and notes they are close but have little time left. Miran tells her to hurry, but Risa says that they still have time knowing that Moon has already made his move. Moon exhales heavily and says it's finally over. He reflects that he used all his strength and barely maintained his identity, but something still feels off. He closes his eyes and realizes it didn't change anything. Celia stands before him and tells him to speak his final words. Moon smirks and refuses to answer. Celia prepares to execute him, and he immediately panics. Moon quickly thinks he will die if he fails to calm her down, so he relies on what he knows. He recalls that he once had love in front of him but failed to cherish it, only regretting it after losing it. Hearing that, he looks at her and wishes for another chance. His panic displays after barely dodging Celia's sudden strike. She questions why he is acting so disgusting. He tries to justify himself and says it could still count as sincerity since they never went that far before. She immediately rejects that idea and calls his actions dirty and vulgar. She replies that he could face her openly and prove his worth with strength and sincerity. Celia looks conflicted as she notes that Moon chose a shameless method instead. He tries to explain, but she cuts him off and forces him to kneel. A sudden noise catches their attention, and the atmosphere turns tense. She grabs him and demands to ask the people outside to leave, but he insists the room is soundproof. She clicks her tongue in frustration, then finally decides to spare him for now and orders him to get dressed and open the door. He realizes the situation is serious and thinks there are only a few options left, but all of them lead to a dead end. He sarcastically expects Ariel to arrive, but he looks confused when someone calls out to him, then turns to see Miran bringing food. He tells her to place the food on the table while she responds obediently. He then pauses and realizes he has never seen her before. She calmly explains that she was only recently selected into the Duke's mansion and is helping with the banquet. But in the next moment, Miran attacks suddenly and he shouts that it's an assassin. Moon suddenly realizes the attack is not aimed at him and immediately calls out to Celia. Miran appears in front of Celia and strikes, but a powerful clash erupts as the attack collides with Celia's defense. Moon is blown back by the impact and winces from the shock. He calls out to Celia as the fight continues right in front of him. Miran clashes with Celia at close range, but she holds her ground and pushes back. She coldly asks if her brother sent them, but Miran calmly refuses to answer and states that the information is confidential. Golden magic circles form above and declares that this will be her end. A massive explosion erupts inside the room. Miran retreats strategically and realizes even skilled mages would struggle against it. Her reaction changes after hearing Celia chanting. She pierces through the battlefield in a flash and strikes directly at the assassin. She keeps her focus on the fight while he realizes the situation is getting out of control. He rushes to the door as he tries to escape but finds it completely locked. He tries to force it open, but the impact throws him back. He quickly understands the door was tampered with and suspects Miran is behind it. Moon pauses as a realization hits him. He recalls his own order to bring in outside servants for the event and realizes the enemy may have been watching the entire time. Another impact shakes the room and snaps him back. He steadies himself and admits that all he can do now is rely on Celia. Moon realizes the target is clearly Celia. He watches her dominate the fight but questions if this outcome is really safe. He considers that no one would even know what happened if she dies here. The assassin acknowledges her strength while observing her closely. Celia stays calm and analyzes the fight and concludes the opponent is relying on pure skill and movement. Miran admits she saw through the magic and confirms the rumors about Celia's strength. The princess calmly demands to know who sent her and offers to spare her life. The assassin laughs and refuses, saying she should not waste time talking. She then reveals that her goal is to stall for time. In the next moment, a sudden strike lands as the situation takes a dangerous turn. The room is suddenly sealed by a powerful barrier as Risa struggles to maintain it. Miran calmly clears her movement. She takes out a red-filled bottle and begins a ritual. Celia immediately recognizes it as an evil ritual and prepares to stop her. Miran continues and asks for strength while the danger rapidly escalates. Miran smirks as the ritual takes effect, releasing a wave of dark power that suppresses the surrounding elements. The force crashes into Celia and pushes her back. She steadies herself and glares forward. Miran steps out calmly from the smoke and shows no fear. She rushes in again and continues the attack while declaring that Celia will die. The princess prepares to respond, but the assassin moves faster and strikes. Miran suddenly pauses, seeing Celia steadies herself despite the damage. Miran presses the attack and declares that Celia can no longer use her ice magic. She overpowers her at close range. The impact sends the princess crashing back as the force explodes around them. She stumbles across the ground, injured and struggling to stay standing while catching her breath. Miran relaxes and says she finally feels comfortable as she turns towards Celia. She then charges in with a grin and aims for her head. A sudden strike cuts across, but before she can finish it, Moon rushes in and blocks her attack. He pulls Celia back into his arms and stops the fatal blow at the last moment, shocking the assassin. Celia looks at him in shock and asks why he did it. Moon coughs up and struggles to speak as he steadies himself. He noticed the open door earlier and realized he could still escape but hesitated. Moon admits he cannot just stand by and watch Celia die, even with a way out in front of him. In the end, he decides he cannot abandon her. He suddenly calls out to Celia, urging her to act. Miran mocks him and calls him useless. Her expression snaps as she shouts in defiance. Celia lunges forward as she takes the opportunity. The princess moves in a flash and sends the assassin flying across the room. She coughs as the impact lands cleanly and ends the fight. Celia lowers her weapon and calmly says it's over. Moon collapses nearby and breathes heavily as he struggles to stay conscious. She looks down at him and realizes the attacker was not the one he expected and questions why he chose to save her. She tells him that no one will know what happened if she dies, but he lies there and admits it no longer matters to him. He recalls her earlier words about facing her properly, then looks at him and waits for his answer. He weakly asks if he acted like a real man. She calmly tells him his time is running out and asks him to leave his final words as he struggles to breathe. He says there is no need to leave any last words. She freezes as he apologizes. He lies there and admits that he truly likes her. His hand drops weakly to the ground while she lowers her gaze and questions if a life and an apology can ever make up for what he did. She glares at him, then firmly rejects his apology. A glowing force surrounds him as her command echoes that he must live and repay his sins. His consciousness drifts as pain and fatigue fade, leaving only warmth. He lies still and realizes this is what it feels like after death, accepting that the end came by his own choice. As his thoughts continue, he decides he cannot ignore the consequences anymore and chooses to face what comes next. A dark shadow suddenly appears beside him, making him pause in confusion. The energy wraps around him and pulls him into it as he reacts in shock. Strange progress screens begin to form around him while the system starts loading. The force tightens and lifts him as he struggles to understand what is happening. He then sees a book-like interface appear in front of him. He shouts in anger while holding the book. A strange creature forms from the shadow and lets out a low sound. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to a sewer. Risa runs forward and thinks she is close to escaping. Suddenly, a voice stops her in place as she senses danger behind her. A massive fiery presence appears behind her, making her realize Leon has arrived. Leon steps forward surrounded by burning energy and calmly questions her presence. He then focuses on her intent and demands an explanation for her actions. Flames intensify behind him as he stands firmly, ready to hear her answer. Moon wakes up in his room while Anna sits nearby. Still dazed, he looks at her and questions who she is. She calmly introduces herself and checks on his condition, but he refuses help and insists he is fine. His sudden pain hits him, and he clutches his chest in discomfort. He suddenly collapses, and she quickly catches him. He apologizes for feeling weak, and she reassures him as she supports his body. He looks confused by what she says, while she calmly explains that she has been taking care of him by handling his medicine and daily needs. Hearing this, he becomes surprised as she continues explaining. She calmly asks if he needs help changing, but he quickly stops Anna and asks her to help him get to the toilet instead. She accepts his request without hesitation. He looks confused for a moment as she approaches, then suddenly lifts him up to carry him. Another maid notices and reacts in surprise. Anna carries him through the hallway without stopping. Moon becomes flustered in her arms. Reaching the room, he calls out to her and asks her to step outside. She insists on staying to protect him since it was his mom's orders. Moon pushes her out, then shuts the door closed. Soon after, he is back in his room as Anna helps him sit on the bed. He learns it has been 3 days since he was asleep and leaves him shocked as he questions his condition. Anna reveals that Celia called the royal physician to treat him, but the heavy blood loss left him unconscious. He looks at the mark on his chest and thinks about the princess. He asks if Celia said anything, but learned she did not leave any message, which makes him quietly relieved. Anna adds that the matter should have been reported to the king. While he reacts with concern, she explains the culprits were found and the black market behind it was eliminated. The captured assassins confessed, and the incident was traced back to the mansion, which put the Duke at risk of blame. However, the situation changed after Celia intervened, preventing punishment and resolving the issue quietly. Moon relaxes slightly after hearing this, but she suddenly leans in and questions if something unspeakable happened, making him flustered as he tries to recall what happened. He nervously tries to explain himself and insists he did nothing wrong, but she quietly stares at him without responding. She then casually changes the topic and brings his medicine, telling him to drink it while it is ready. He eventually takes it as she feeds him. Cheese's face turns sour, immediately spitting it out as the bitterness overwhelms him and complains that his tongue goes numb. She calmly explains it is a tonic meant to replenish his blood and added sugar to reduce the bitterness. Outside, the maids whisper that he is angry again. They grow uneasy and decide to report the situation just in case. Moon suddenly panics and shouts for them not to leave, insisting not to report him to his mom. He quickly grabs the bowl and drinks it in one go. The maids are startled by his sudden reaction and rush out. While he lowers the empty bowl and regains his composure, he suddenly throws up from the overwhelming taste. Anna calmly explains that drinking it too quickly causes nausea, and it should be taken little by little. He learns this is already the 4th dose and only needs 2 more to recover. He complains about how unbearably bitter it is while losing motivation. Anna prepares tea and a small dessert, calmly telling him there is still time before dinner. He accepts the food and casually mentions rewarding her for the past few days, while she politely says she will report to his family first before leaving. She informs him about a letter from the palace and reminds him to check it later. He pauses, then a thought crosses his mind and calls her back. He questions how he can still eat sweets despite being weak and yet struggles with the bitter medicine. She pauses for a moment while he explains that he is just a little curious to know. Anna admits she added a lot of sugar and reveals she fed it to him directly. He slowly processes her words, then freezes as he realizes what that means. A brief image flashes in his mind of her feeding him. He suddenly raises his voice as Anna walks down the hallway. He starts rambling to himself while blushing until something crosses his mind. An image of him and Celia flash in his mind as he realizes it was his first time, and he jolts upright in shock after realizing something. He opens the letter from the palace and reads its strange message, then exhales in relief as he realizes Celia has no intention of exposing him for now. He quietly notes that the worst outcome has been avoided. Later that evening, the scene shifts during mealtime. He is reunited with his mother as Joyce breaks down, hugging him tightly after learning how badly he was injured. She checks his condition while still emotional, and he calmly explains it is only a minor injury. His dad praises him while saying the scars are a sign of honor, and he expresses his relief. Moon turns to ask his dad what really happened this time. Leon explains there were 3 attackers, including the one defeated on the spot and another who broke through the barrier. The captured suspects reveal they are bounty hunters from the black market who worship a figure called the King of Wither. Moon realizes this group was not in the original story and assumes they are a minor force. The gang is a vicious criminal group who will do anything for money. Joyce confirms the organization has already been wiped out and assures him that everything has been taken care of. His mom reminds him of their family's status and vows not to let the attackers go. Moon calmly asks if they found who hired them while continuing to eat. His dad reveals the captured hunters were cursed and would die if the mastermind was exposed. Although the black market was destroyed, no evidence confirmed who was behind it, though suspicion fell on Celia's side. Hearing this, he is surprised that his dad was the one who wiped out the underground market like in the original story. He recalls a bounty was placed on the princess and the assassination succeeded, which led the king to purge the underground world. The massacre lasted for months and turned the sewers red in what became known as the Blood River Incident. He realizes the event happened early, and with the black market gone, the princess may survive and the tragedy may never occur. He remembers that incident was a major turning point involving Ariel and a large-scale clash between royal forces and the underground. After overcoming multiple crises, her strength steadily improves while he notes that the original turning point may no longer happen. Moon realizes that giving Noel just 2 days off already caused a chain reaction. Although everyone tells him to rest, he refuses and realizes the story has already diverged. He understands the original plot can no longer guide him, so his survival now depends entirely on himself. Moon begins setting clear goals to survive. He then thinks carefully, considering that the attacker's identity is still uncertain, and decides to stay cautious while preparing for what comes next. He reminds himself not to trust the Black Book and realizes the real cause behind the events is still unknown, leaving him frustrated by the lack of information. He quickly stops overthinking and decides to focus on what he can control. He sets getting stronger as his top priority, knowing his current abilities are far behind the main cast. He recalls that despite years of study, he only knows a basic spell which makes his situation even worse. Moon realizes his current strength is low and far from even the higher ranks. He understands that even pushing himself won't help much since people like Ariel and Celia are completely different. Thinks he about how Celia was gifted with control over ice and snow. He then considers Ariel, who holds multiple divine blessings and overwhelming combat power. He admits that even against ordinary opponents, he still stands no chance at his current level. Moon analyzes his situation, realizing he must quickly reach a level where he can protect himself even against Ariel. He notes that although the enemies are powerful, the recent incident also awakened a new ability within him. He decides to rely on the Black Book, preparing to use it as his next move. The book crashes violently into him, triggering him to scream in pain. He scolds it and fears he might not be capable in the future. Moon steadies himself and looks at the book as it begins reacting, then notices something unusual as its pages start turning on their own. He reads the book and realizes it is recording everything that happened to him in detail. He notices strange red text appearing and begins to question what it means. Suddenly, the book reacts again and a red force engulfs him as he struggles to resist. He complains about the lack of warning as the energy drags him into another space. Moon lands in a dark area and tries to figure out where he is. He suspects it might be a space inside the Black Book. A shadowy figure suddenly appears behind him, making him tense as he senses danger. He turns and calls out, trying to identify who is there. Before he can react, Mirren uses a shadow step and strikes him with a fast attack. Moon pauses in shock while she stands before him. He wakes up in a panic and struggles to understand what just happened. Moon realizes the assassin from before somehow appeared inside the Black Book. He steadies himself as the book reacts and begins to respond to his thoughts. A status screen appears showing his abilities and skill proficiency level. He smiles as he understands this is the true power of the Black Book. He smirks and decides to test it again as he realizes this ability could become his strongest advantage. Late at night in the mansion, Moon lies on his bed and catches his breath as he realizes he barely made it out. He checks a pocket watch and notes that time flows the same, realizing he only lasted 3 seconds. He then picks up a book and checks his proficiency, confirming his stats and skills are low as he calmly accepts that it is exactly as he expected. Moon realizes that any skill used by an enemy gets recorded and allows him to gain proficiency by fighting their shadow inside the illusion. He recalls the swift footwork and precise combat moves of Mirin. He realizes the potential of this advantage and grows confident that with such a cheat, he no longer needs to fear the protagonist. He suddenly reacts as the book hits him. Moon enters the illusion again and is immediately struck by Mirin. He tries to endure as the assassin follows up with swift movements and continuous strikes. He struggles to keep up and gets pushed back again. Meanwhile, Anna arrives at the door and calls for him while holding a tray. She enters the room and gently reminds him it is time to take his medicine, but she sees him already asleep under the blanket. She pauses and notices he still sleeps the same way as when he was younger, then smiles softly at the sight. She carefully places the medicine on the table and leaves the room. Moon suddenly jolts awake in bed, gasping as he returns from the illusion. He clutches himself in pain and realizes he was hit with a low attack. Frustration shows on his face as he admits Mirin is far stronger and fights without holding back. Even so, he quickly dives back and is determined to land a hit on her no matter what. As morning arrives, Moon lies on the bed and notes that he finally managed to last 30 seconds against Mirin after 185th time. He suddenly tenses up as the accumulated damage hits his body all at once, forcing him to endure the pain. He coughs and struggles to breathe before rolling off the bed and hitting the floor. He lies there catching his breath as the pain slowly fades, then opens his eyes and realizes he has finally recovered. He reflects that although he does not truly die inside the illusion, the pain from each death feels real. After nearly 200 attempts, it was enough to almost break him. Now, he steadies himself as a new sense of resolve formed. Moon decides to check the results and opens the book, only to be surprised by the updated stats showing slight improvements in his combat skills and shadow technique. He realizes he is still far from Mirin's level, but accepts that it is a good start and that things will get easier from here. He moves his body to test it out, then activates his skill and disappears into motion using Shadow Step. He dashes forward and wonders if it worked, then clenches his fist in excitement as he confirms it did. Suddenly, pain shoots through his foot and he winces as the strain hits him hard. He collapses while clutching his leg, realizing the technique puts too much pressure on his body. He quickly accepts that it is not meant for someone at his tier yet. Moon admits that he is still too weak and realizes he needs teacher. He recalls that the academy is about to start, but it's hard to find a strong warrior to train him. He reflects on how martial training is often overlooked in this world. Suddenly, he remembers a powerful warrior from the original story who faced countless enemies alone, and a faint smile forms as he considers this new direction. Moon recalls the legendary warrior who is none other than his dad. It is revealed that the most powerful warrior in the past century is a single man who rose through countless battles, becoming a royal guard at a young age and later earning great achievements across the empire. He never lost a battle and eventually was granted the title of Lionheart King and rising to Duke through pure military merit. His dad is the strongest warrior in the empire, so he relies on him instead of the academy, choosing to stay home and train under him directly. Moon hears someone call for him and turns his head, then steps outside where Anna informs him that his dad is looking for him. With a smile, he decides to go immediately and pulls Anna along as they head out. The maid notices them and calls Anna's name casually, but she corrects herself and addresses Anna as the head maid. Moon notices Anna's new position and asks about it, and she confirms she has been promoted to head maid after the former one step down. He recalls how the previous head maid had been with his dad for a long time and was more like family, which makes him feel responsible for what happened. Anna calmly reassures him and explains that she is still part of the household. Just then, Moon reunites with his mom and hugs him tightly. She expresses her relief that he has recovered. She then guides his hand to her stomach and asks him to feel it. As he reacts, she reveals that he will soon have a younger sibling, which surprises him. His father calmly confirms it and shows no preference. While she happily adds that he will love them no matter what, his dad asks him to sit as she has something important to say. The scene shifts to the garden where his dad is present, and Moon reacts in shock upon hearing that he will be returning to the front line. His dad calmly explains that he will leave soon while his mom and the maids will return to their territory. Before leaving, he entrusts Faye, the former head maid, with taking care of her. Moon questions the decision, but his dad explains that the situation at the western border is urgent as the abyssal lands are showing signs of movement. Hearing this, Moon suddenly recalls the timeline and realizes something important. He remembers that the early demon invasion was only a setup and that 3 years later marks the true beginning of the major events. His expression shifts as he understands that his dad leaving for 3 years will disrupt all his plans. Moon panics as he realizes everything is falling apart. He tries to calm himself while thinking. His dad prepares to leave, showing the departure from the estate. Leon gently scolds Joyce for being too emotional while reminding him to stay strong. Then he calls out to Moon and draws his attention back. His dad praises him for his courage and reminds him of their duty as part of the family, then shows him the family crest and explains its meaning as the Empire's blade against its enemies. Moon will stand on his own battlefield one day and choose his own path while assuring him that everything he needs has already been prepared. Moon listens quietly as he takes in his words. Suddenly, his dad's tone shifts and asks him what he thinks of Anna. Moon looks at Anna and admits she is kind, then awkwardly answers when asked if he likes her. His dad then pushes the idea further, pointing out her good background and urging him to act quickly if he is interested. Moon is caught off guard and questions if he is being told to be with her, but his thoughts shift as he remembers his engagement to Celia. His father dismisses the concern and explains that the engagement was only political. He then states his true intention clearly, saying he wants to see a grandchild within 3 years. As Moon and Anna watch the carriage leaves, she asks if he needs her after hearing her name mentioned earlier, but he smiles with embarrassment while he brings up how his dad wants to pair them to continue the family line, but he dismisses it as a joke. He reminds her that she is only a maid and will follow her own path. Moon tells her that she should tell him if she ever finds someone she loves and he will let her go. He gently pats her and encourages her to chase her own happiness. He grins to himself as he walks away thinking he handled it perfectly, but Anna lowers her head quietly and reflects on what he said. Her hand trembles and acknowledges that he has changed. She decides she cannot wait any longer as she prepares to act that night. Later in the library, Moon reflects that things are not going as planned, but focuses on getting stronger through self-study. He plans to pause school and avoid unnecessary risks while training in secret. He continues reading as he realizes he still has a long way to go. Moon decides to confirm the book's ability again, then opens it as dark energy flows around him. The information is absorbed instantly and allows him to grasp multiple techniques without memorizing them manually. Realizing its efficiency, he grows confident in this method and continues using it to train. Meanwhile, Anna quietly enters the room carrying a tray. She approaches and asks if he is still reading. He notices that she brought a midnight snack. Moon points out how much responsibility she carries while taking care of the mansion, but she simply accepts it as her duty. Anna then offers him a bottle of wine, but he declines since he still needs to study and does not want to lose focus. She asks what he wants to drink, and he chooses coffee to stay awake, but she explains that due to an issue, only wine and black tea are available. He listens and considers it, then realizes something about her explanation feels familiar. In the end, he accepts the black tea as a substitute while staying focused on his study. He drinks the tea without suspicion, but moments later his vision distorts as pain hits. Realizing something is wrong, he looks at her in shock as his body weakens. He calls out her name while collapsing, unable to understand why she would do this. As he fades, she holds him gently and reassures him that she would never betray him. She holds him close and tells him to rest as he weakly calls her name, while her thoughts reveal her obsession and refusal to let him go. His eyes widen as his consciousness fades, then he suddenly jolts awake and finds himself restrained. He struggles against the bindings and recalls the person from the prophecy. Anna appears before him with a calm smile and confirms the drug worked as she watches him closely. Moon panics and questions what she is doing, but she calmly tells him he already knows. She believes that they belong to each other while insisting she is fixing him. He struggles and tries to reason with her, but she refuses and silences him. Anna leans closer and declares that he will belong entirely to her from this moment on. Moon's eyes grow heavy as he wonders if it is finally over. He reflects on how his life ended in an unexpected way and recalls the one responsible behind everything. Moon tells her she does not need to force herself and can release him, but she leans closer and silences him. She calmly insists that this pain means nothing compared to the years she waited. She reminds him that she has always protected and guided him. In the end, she declares that everything she has done was to keep him by her side, refusing to let him leave no matter what. Moon reflects on how everything led to this point and realizes that despite avoiding past dangers, he is still destined to die at her hands. He clenches his fist and tries to find a way out. As he struggles, she notices the movement and questions him while he quickly hides his intent. Anna says she still needs to manage the manor to avoid suspicion. She adds that since he now belongs to her, the others are no longer necessary. He reacts in shock and quickly tells her to stop. She pauses and turns back to him. She then asks if there is another maid in the manor that he likes, such as Noelle, but he insists that there is none. Moon hesitates while watching her, but she suddenly laughs and says she was only joking. She assures him that as long as he behaves, she will not harm anyone in the manor. Taking the chance, he asks her to unlock the restraints first. She agrees and begins removing the shackles, but warns him not to try anything as she keeps a close eye on him. Anna explains that the room is a sealed space she built in secret with a special lock and a single key. She assures him no one will suspect anything since she already arranged a cover story, promising to bring him meals regularly, and everything else will remain the same. As she leans closer, he reacts weakly, and she calmly notes his quick recovery before saying she has to leave for now. She leaves the room and tells him to stay put while she is away. He immediately calls out for his clothes, but she ignores him as she locks the door. Left alone, he starts thinking through every possibility and wonders if he is truly meant to remain trapped like this. He steadies himself and realizes that no matter the situation, he still needs to try and find a way to escape. Moon immediately tries to break free and slams his body against the door. However, the force rebounds and throws him back. He realizes the shackles are far stronger than expected and quickly understands the room is reinforced with solid steel. He lies still until the black energy roams in the ceiling. He notices the black book reacts and realizes its power can affect even solid metal, confirming it is far beyond normal magic. Thinking quickly, he calms himself and decides to use the training space again instead of panicking. As he prepares, he recalls something from what he read before and starts flipping through the pages. A realization hits him as he finds a key idea for a possible way out. Moon trains intensely and counts his repetitions until he finally reaches 200. He realizes his body is still holding up and that this method is the only safe way to grow stronger for now. Determined, he steels himself and vows not to stay down again. Anna suddenly arrives and praises his energy. She tells him she has finished her work. Anna teases him lightly and prepares a bath while he realizes he has not cleaned himself in days. Anna then asks what he wants to do first, and he quickly chooses to bathe as she accepts his answer. He hesitates in the bath, but she notices and asks if something is wrong. Moon insists he can handle it himself, yet she moves closer and takes over anyway. Anna finishes helping him. She prepares his meal and insists on feeding him herself. She brings the food close and guides him to eat. As he tastes it, his expression changes and he admits it is surprisingly good. He continues eating and enjoys the meal. Anna praises him for eating well and explains that he is already used to the taste while he grows curious about what kind of meat it is. She calmly reveals its origin, leaving him stunned as he repeats it in disbelief. She then casually explains more about the creature it came from while he freezes in shock at the realization. He immediately spits it out in shock as she calmly explains she has been feeding him similar meals for a long time. He reacts in disbelief and struggles to accept it while she continues speaking as if it is normal. Unable to hold back anymore, he bursts out in frustration and protests about being trapped and forced to eat this kind of food. He points at her and demands to be released, unable to endure the situation any longer. Moon prepares to act but suddenly weakens again. Anna holds him and explains she understands his anger but refuses to let him go no matter what. She gently tells him to rest and leave everything to her. While the night stretches on outside, Moon lies back on his bed exhausted. Anna notices he is awake, then calmly adjusts herself while speaking. She admits she pushed him too far before and says she will ease up this time. She checks on him and asks if he feels any discomfort, but he responds coldly. She then asks if he is still angry. After seeing his reaction, she offers him a small request as a reward for behaving. He immediately demands freedom, but she rejects it without hesitation. He tries to settle for something smaller, yet she refuses again. Anna is prepared to give him the freedom to choose what to eat instead. Choosing what to eat is a small request, but Moon accepts it as his only option. He sits up and thinks about it, then mentions autumn is coming while recalling peaceful memories from before and eating a seasonal fish. Anna considers it and realizes the place he mentioned is far away, but Moon snaps back. He compares his past freedom to his current imprisonment and calls his situation miserable. He covers himself and complains that even simple things like eating fresh fish are now impossible. Anna quietly acknowledges his feelings. Moon suddenly reacts in surprise as she agrees, and she promises to bring him fresh fish from the lake. He praises her reliability, making her blush as he expects her to deliver. He suddenly freezes as she moves closer, catching him off guard. She pulls away and calmly walks off as he calls out to her, then informs him the trip will take time and asks him to wait before leaving. Anna walks away down the corridor while holding back her emotions. She smiles to herself and hurries off as she is already planning to get what he asked for. Moon relaxes and notes. He finally has a moment to think after everything. He brings out the black book again, preparing to use it for his next move. He smirks and decides to create a trial space using the black book before she returns. He activates it as dark energy surges around him as he prepares to push his limits. At the border of the lake, a storm happens and lightning strikes. A guard warns Anna that the area is dangerous and tells her not to approach, but she questions it without hesitation. He tries to stop her, yet she remains calm and focused. Anna suddenly strikes and cuts down the man in front of her without hesitation. She warns him not to touch her again and makes it clear she will not hold back next time. She demands to know what is happening at the lake and forces him to speak. He explains that the lake master has awakened, and that the area is already under investigation and sealed by adventurers. The man demands payment for his medical bills before he asks her to leave. Anna drops a bag of coins while the man questions her decision and warns her about the danger ahead. Anna calmly confirms she will keep going, explaining that it is because of love. Meanwhile, Erica, a healer, quietly resolves that she cannot let anyone take her companion away. She decides to confess after everything is over. She snaps back to focus when someone calls her out. Rod, a warrior, urges for immediate healing while holding the line, and she quickly responds and begins casting as green energy gathers around her. Tia, a magician, warns them that the monster is coming. A massive explosion erupts from the water while the lake's master finally reveals itself. The monster surges forward as the group braces in shock. Rod steps in and raises his guard while activating a defensive skill. A burst of power collides with the incoming attack and holds it back. He shouts for magic support while Erica quickly prepares to cast. She raises her hand as ice energy gathers around her body. However, she pauses when an explosive magic bursts, engulfing the creature in flames. As it reels from the hit, Tia calls out and signals Rod to move. He charges forward through the opening and launches himself straight at the target. He brings his weapon down with full force as the attack pierces through the creature. A final explosion erupts as it collapses under the combined strike. He steadies himself while catching his breath, confirming the fight is over. He then smiles in relief and praises Tia. Erica is saddened as the two check on each other. She lowers her gaze as emotion builds and questions everything quietly. A memory of Rod and her childhood flashes as they once dreamed of growing stronger together. Erica recalls how she tried to catch up, but was never noticed, realizing she had always been the one left behind. Rod calls out to her while holding the healing energy steady, urging her to help deal with the lake master. She quietly responds and steadies herself as she prepares to move. Suddenly, she pauses as something feels off. Rod and Tia freeze as they recognize the trembling voice under the lake. A massive surge erupts from the lake and knocks them back. Rod pulls Tia close as both stare in shock at what rises before them. Another giant creature emerges and reveals itself as a second lake master. Without hesitation, they launch another attack and fire magic straight into its mouth. The monster unleashes a violent burst of magic that shatters their attack. The impact sends them flying as he crashes hard and struggles to recover. Rod tells Erica to escape while realizing the enemy is far beyond what they can handle. Despite that, he insists on staying behind to protect Tia. Rod grips his weapon and declares he will fight even if it costs his life. Erica freezes in shock as he resolves to stay. Rod suddenly calls out Tia as the distance between them grows. Nearby, Anna observes and recognizes the creature as a monarch-class beast. She then decides that obtaining something stronger for Moon will be easy given the situation. The monster gathers a surge of red lightning into a blazing core. It expands into a spinning ring of power while Rod braces himself and grips Tia's body. Anna calmly raises her hand and signals to restrain the situation. In the next moment, the energy crashes down in a violent strike and erupts on impact. Rod groans as flames burn across his face. He opens his eyes and turns back in shock. The massive creature falls after the strike. Erica realizes the Lake Master's attack was blocked and looks stunned. Anna approaches her and asks if she is okay. Anna steps forward and prepares to handle the monster herself. She raises her hand and activates her power as dark liquid-like energy spreads around her. Erica watches in shock as the solid iron shifts and flows like liquid. The monster reacts as the dark energy wraps and tightens around it. Anna then walks forward steadily as the creature is restrained under her control. Dark energy surges forward as Anna declares the monster's fate. She moves instantly and releases a sharp crimson slash that cuts through the monster. The attack lands in one clean strike and the creature is split apart. Rod watches in shock as the monarch-class beast is taken down in an instant. Erica rushes to him in concern as he steadies himself and confirms he is all right. Rod reassures her that his injuries are minor as he holds Tia close. He then asks Erica if he can speak with Anna while she looks confused by the request. Rod explains that Anna has not left yet and considers approaching her after seeing her strength. Nearby, Anna quietly handles the aftermath as she picks up the fish. She pauses and reflects on her mistake before turning to head back. Erica warns that one of the first Anna caught is highly toxic and points out which ones are safe. Erica shares her knowledge about the lake and Anna then asks how to prepare them. After some time, Anna writes down the steps and thanks Erica for the guidance. Erica then asks if she came here for someone special and Anna quietly confirms it. Her expression softens as she thinks about Moon. Anna prepares to leave after thanking her. Erica quickly stops her, then she hesitates before bringing up a concern about love and asks for advice. Anna drops the bucket of fish and she finally agrees to help based on her own experience. Erica begins to explain that she has a friend with feelings for someone. She describes how those feelings have lasted for a long time but were never returned. Anna listens and calmly points out the situation as a love triangle. She adds that her friend has started to lose confidence and thinks about giving up. Anna looks at her and asks directly how much she truly loves him. Erica quickly denies it is about her, but then admits her true feeling. She confesses that she has loved him for many years and cannot hide it anymore. Anna asks if she would go as far as risking her life for him, and she answers without hesitation. Anna calmly tells her that she already has her answer. She then adds that if her feelings are truly that deep, there's no need to keep questioning it. Anna tells her to follow what her heart truly wants and to give everything for the one she loves. Erica watches Anna leave as her words echo in her mind. She repeats them to herself while her expression grows serious. A strange red energy begins to form around her as something within her reacts. She suddenly collapses as the power surges. In the distance, Rod and Tia notice and call out to her in alarm. A dark voice begins to whisper and feeds into her thoughts. Her expression changes as anger and jealousy take over while the energy burns around her. The voice continues to guide her and pushes her to follow her deepest desires. She stands up as the power spreads across her body and takes control. The voice offers her strength and fills her with overwhelming energy. Rod checks on Erica after seeing her collapse. She quickly reassures him and brushes it off as exhaustion. Rod reflects on the situation and realizes how much Anna helped them. Tia suddenly notices something strange, and they both look at Erica as a red glow begins to form on her chest. Erica explains it is just a burn from the earlier attack. Rod lifts Tia without hesitation and carries her despite her protest. She tries to push him away, but he refuses and keeps moving forward. Behind them, Erica's eyes begin to glow red as the dark energy resurfaces. The next day at the mansion, Moon rests in bed while the room stays quiet. Anna enters and calmly announces her return. He immediately wakes and rushes toward her with excitement. She stops him and explains he has only been away briefly while scolding his reaction. Anna apologizes for the delay and explains she hurried back to bring the fish. She presents the dish she prepared and places it in front of him. He reacts with excitement as the smell catches his attention. He chooses the steamed one first and takes a bite without hesitation. Anna watches him calmly as he eats and waits for his reaction. He takes another bite and enjoys the taste as his expression brightens. He praises the food and offers some to her while continuing to eat. She calmly reminds him to be careful as the fish contains many small bones. Moments later, he suddenly pauses and clutches his throat as something gets stuck. Anna suddenly leans in and says she will help him remove it herself. He is caught off guard and tries to stop her as she calmly explains her method. She moves closer without hesitation while he panics and protests. Before he can react, she pushes him down and proceeds to help him directly as he struggles in surprise. After a moment, she pulls back and calmly states that it is already taken care of. He lies there and decides to continue eating more carefully on his own. Anna watches him quietly with a faint smile. After he is done, he lies back while Anna proposes an activity to him. He clarifies what she meant until she brings up about the error that his dad mentioned before. He suddenly stops her and insists it is not the right time. She looks confused and asks for the reason. He explains that they are both tired and not in good condition. After everything that happened, she pauses and then understands his concern. After thinking it through, she agrees to wait and suggests continuing later instead. Instead, she reports that on her way back, she passed through a well-known city famous for its craftsmanship. She then reveals she bought something specifically for him. As she mentions the material and design, he imagines the outfit and reveals it is a black silk costume. He freezes for a moment, then he quickly denies any interest and tries to brush it off. She calmly points out that he already showed interest in similar things before and reminds him of what he keeps hidden. She adds that she has been wearing black stockings because of him. He is left speechless as he processes her words. After a brief pause, Moon ends up agreeing instead. Anna smiles with satisfaction as she watches his reaction. She tells him she will take care of her duties and leaves the room for the night while Moon watches her go. After she leaves, his expression changes as he starts thinking carefully. He recalls what he has prepared and notes that everything is finally in place. He checks the timing and realizes he still has enough time before she returns. He then quietly goes to the door. Moon reaches the door and begins unlocking it with a tool. He activates his skill and focuses as the mechanism starts responding. The lock reveals a complex structure as multiple pins align. The strain suddenly hits him and forces him back as he realizes how difficult it is. Moon stares at the lock in shock as he understands just how many layers it has. He studies the mechanism and carefully recalls how the lock works. He realizes each pin must be aligned perfectly or everything resets. He also understands the tool he is using is fragile and could break if he makes a mistake. He tightens his focus as he prepares for another attempt. He knows this is his only chance and cannot afford to fail. He tries again and carefully adjusts each pin. Sweat builds as he keeps repeating the process. Moon pushes through and manages to align most of them, but the pressure overwhelms him. Moon can't help but praise the person responsible for the lock. He steadies himself and checks the time as the pressure builds. He realizes he has only one chance left with the final piece in his hand. After recalling what he learned, he regains his focus and prepares for one last attempt. With determination, he activates his skill again and pushes his power to the limit. In the kitchen, the maids continue preparing the meal as the soup finishes cooking. Noelle takes a sip and her expression brightens as she enjoys the rich flavor. Anna explains the meal is prepared earlier than usual with Noelle's help, making it even better than before. Noelle suddenly points out that Anna has more free time since their masters are away. She points out that someone has been secretly setting aside food after cooking over the past few days. Noelle suddenly reacts as if she figured something out. She guesses that Anna keeps a pet secretly inside the mansion. Noelle explains that Moon dislikes small animals, which is why none are allowed inside. She then concludes that keeping a pet would break the rules and Anna must keep secret. Anna asks her to keep the secret and Noelle calmly agrees. She eagerly asks to see the pet, but Anna refuses and explains it is still shy around strangers. She reassures her and praises her effort, then turns away as she prepares to leave. After that, Anna walks off alone while thinking about how things could have turned out much worse. She then recalls what was said earlier as she continues moving forward. Moon still tries to escape while Anna thinks about him being trapped for too long. She reflects calmly on her condition while keeping her thoughts composed. Moon struggles and is clearly exhausted. Anna considers that getting a small animal might help ease his loneliness. She then smiles to herself and decides it would be better to ask him directly. Anna suddenly pauses in shock. She steps forward slowly after seeing the door open. At the same time, Moon finally escapes into the sewer and stumbles forward while following the direction of the wind. He suddenly hits something and reacts in pain as the path ahead is blocked by debris. He looks ahead and realizes he cannot move forward because the passage is completely clogged. Moon recalls the memories and realizes he is already far enough from the cell to be safe. He then forms a glowing light in his hand. He tests it and confirms it can help him navigate and escape faster. Suddenly, a knife strikes from the side and catches him off guard, freezing him in shock. Anna steps into the sewer as dark energy spreads around her. She then appears before him with a cold expression and declares that she has finally found him. Anna rushes forward through the water as dark energy surrounds her. Moon turns in shock as he recognizes her and freezes for a moment. He quickly moves back while thinking about how he just escaped. He grits his teeth and prepares himself as he refuses to give up. Moon uses Shadow Step without hesitation. Anna calmly tells him to stop while she throws sharp projectiles at high speed toward him. They strike around him in rapid succession, forcing him to dodge while he cries out. Anna watches without emotion as the attack continues. The impact sends debris flying as the force crashes down and overwhelms the area. Anna dashes forward through the debris as broken wood and dust scatter around her. Her steps land sharply as she chases ahead at full speed. The ruined path stretches forward while she continues tracking him. Anna narrows her eyes and questions how he can move that fast. She stops at the door and realizes her seal failed as he still managed to escape. Anna admits she underestimated him but declares he still cannot escape her. She steps closer and gives him a chance to surrender and return. She suddenly unleashes a sharp attack that cuts through the space toward him. Moon freezes in shock as the strike misses. His expression breaks as he starts thinking about giving up and accepting his situation. Anna senses the air and realizes there is no trace of him. She immediately rushes through the tunnel to continue the chase. Time passes as the empty passage remains silent. Moon steadies his breath and realizes she has moved far away. She reaches for the door carefully as a sudden realization flashes across Moon's face. Her eyes sharpen as she looks through a cracked door. Then she releases a wave of dark energy. Her steps echo as the energy settles around her. Anna admits her assumption was wrong and that he has already escaped far away. She turns and moves forward to find him as quickly as possible. Moon thinks it would be dangerous if the others find out while trying to calm himself. A sudden noise startles him as the book slams his head. He flinches and stumbles forward in panic. He realizes she has doubled back and nearly caught him off guard. Moon steadies himself and decides he has no choice but to take a risky move. He bursts forward with force and crashes through the barrier. He pushes against the door and forces it open. He steps outside and feels the rain as he finally clears the exit. Moon looks up in disbelief as he realizes he is free. He spreads his arms under the rain and celebrates. Moon covers his mouth and realizes how close he came to being caught. He realizes there is no time to celebrate as he starts running through the rain. 2 days later on the plains, Moon lies on the grass after escaping the capital's reach. He relaxes under the sun as fatigue sets in and considers getting some sleep, but he decides not to lower his guard yet. He then thinks about his options and concludes the academy is the closer path to fully escape. Moon walks along the river with his mind clearer and decides to move without stopping. Suddenly, voices call out, and he turns to see 3 men blocking an adventurer's path. The bandits mock and demand that the person hands over everything she has. The adventurer turns out to be Erica and warns them about the consequences of robbing her. The bandit leader mocks her and points out they cannot sense any combat aura. Erica questions their actions and warns that a passing hero might stop them. They burst into laughter and dismiss the idea. The leader steps forward and proudly calls themselves professional bandits. The others spread out and signal they already have a plan and a clear escape route. They position themselves and coordinate carefully as they lock in. The leader notices her movement and warns her to stop trying to create distance to cast a spell. Erica grips her weapon and hesitates as he threatens to strike as she moves again. The leader confidently claims no one will come to help since they already secured the area. Suddenly, Moon interrupts the professional bandits. Moon rises from the water and confuses them at first. He steps forward and calls them out for ganging up on Erica, telling them to face him instead. The leader suddenly agrees without hesitation, catching him off guard. He then lets her go despite her confusion. Moon quickly panics and tries to explain he has no money while offering future payment instead. The leader smirks and says he is not after money, then suddenly changes the plan and targets him instead. Moon freezes in shock as he tries to process the situation. He backs away in panic while shouting in confusion. The men move in as Erika steadies herself and prepares her staff. She gathers energy and begins casting as flames start forming around her. Erika releases the spell and a massive explosion engulfs the bandits. Their screams are swallowed by the fire as the attack finishes them instantly. Moon stares in shock at the overwhelming power. Erika lowers her staff and calmly says the threat has been handled. She thanks him for drawing their attention while she prepared the attack. Erika looks at him with confusion and calls out his behavior, but he tries to explain himself. He then introduces himself and reaches out politely. She introduces herself and says she used to be an adventurer and shyly reveals she just got married. He congratulates her sincerely, and she thanks him until Moon's stomach growls suddenly. Erika asks if he is hungry, and he admits he has not eaten for 2 days. She invites him to come with her. Erika explains she bought groceries to thank him and offers him clothes so he does not stay exposed. He reacts with excitement while she calmly downplays it as something simple. As they walk together, he praises her warmly and she lightly accepts it while telling him he can praise her more. Moon asks why she came to such a dangerous place so soon after getting married. Erika explains she went to town to handle matters related to her husband's work and bought groceries on the way. He assumes her husband is also an adventurer, and she confirms it while saying they are temporarily stepping away and must report back to the guild. She then asks if he wants fish for dinner, and he excitedly agrees. A sudden voice echoes in his mind. This makes him pause in confusion, and she asks if something is wrong, but he says it is nothing and blames it on hunger. They finally arrive toward a quiet place at sunset where Erika stays. He comments on the size of the house, but she explains it belongs to the village chief and they are only staying there. As they walk inside, he says he has something to ask. He notices how quiet the village is and that no one is around. He also points out that the doors are left open and questions if that is safe. She calmly explains that everyone is busy, then asks if he knows about Lake Baipur, and he quickly says he does. She explains the village depends on the nearby lake for fishing since the land cannot support farming. She adds that her husband handles protection and transport while she stays behind to watch over the village. He listens and realizes why the place felt empty on the way. For a moment, a strange unease crosses his mind. She then invites him inside and he follows her in. Moon feels a strange unease, but he questions if it is just his imagination. Inside, Erika gives him clothes and tells him to wash up while she prepares dinner. He then carefully checks the water for anything unusual. Finding nothing wrong, he drinks it but still feels that something is off. After eating, Moon finishes the meal and praises Erika's cooking. She thanks him but points out he does not seem ordinary. He then reveals his identity. She reacts in surprise as he explains he is being hunted and asks for her help to arrange transport and send a message while hoping to stay there for a while. Erika laughs lightly and downplays his request, thinking it is nothing serious. He raises the reward and tries to convince her, but she still does not take it seriously at first. He insists and clarifies that everything he said is true, making her finally understand. She then agrees to let him stay for the night and offers him a room. He confirms her answer as she calmly accepts. Erika accepts the reward and agrees to let him stay for the night. She leads him inside and shows him around while explaining the layout. She tells him where to wash up and warns him not to wander or open any doors without permission. She specifically points out a door at the back and tells him not to open it. She explains it is used for storing prepared meat and that opening it would spread a strong smell. He agrees to follow her instructions and she leaves him to rest. Moon thanks her and says good night as he leaves things to her. She responds calmly and watches him go. Once he is out of sight, her expression turns cold as she reveals he will not live to see tomorrow. A strange mark glows on her body as her intent becomes clear. She chooses Moon to be the last offering for the god of love. She activates the mark and declares she has chosen him as her target. Elsewhere, Anna tracks his scent and confirms his direction. She follows his trail without hesitation as the night deepens. She calmly states that no matter how far he runs, he cannot escape her. Night falls over the house as Moon sleeps soundly in bed. He stirs and wakes up feeling uncomfortable. Realizing he drank too much water, he quickly gets up. He heads out of the room to find a place to go. He peeks out and thinks he saw something outside, then steps into the hallway to check. As he looks around, Erica suddenly appears behind him and startles him. She asks why he is still awake at this hour. He hesitates and tries to respond. He explains he woke up to use the restroom and mentions hearing a strange barking sound. She calmly says it is just her dog and describes it as well-behaved. He shows interest and asks to see it, but she refuses and says it is shy around strangers. He accepts her answer and decides to head to the restroom instead. Erica points him toward the toilet near the well and reminds him not to go the wrong way. Her expression darkens after he leaves. Outside, he reaches the toilet and reacts to the strong smell. As he looks around, his expression shifts as he begins to sense something unusual again. Moon walks outside and follows the sound, realizing it is not normal barking. He notices a crack and decides to take a quick look inside. Peeking through, he sees Rod chained up and being kept like an animal. Rod struggles weakly as Erica tells him to stay quiet and wait. Realizing the truth, Moon is left in shock at what he just discovered. A sudden noise alerts her and she immediately turns toward the source. Erica calls out while tightening her grip and stepping outside to check. She looks around carefully but finds no one there. After a brief pause, she narrows her eyes as suspicion lingers. Erica decides to check on Moon before the god of love awakens. As he lands, he connects everything he has seen. Moon recalls the chain man and understands he is likely her husband. The situation sinks in as he realizes he cannot stay here any longer. He steels himself and decides there is only one thing left to do. Moon makes his decision and dashes away at full speed. Erica calls out his name as she realizes he is gone. Inside, the room is left empty as he escapes. Her expression turns fierce as red energy erupts around her. She unleashes her power and prepares to chase him down. She pauses and wonders when did he notice. Her expression darkens as she thinks he returns. Erica smiles and opens the door until she sees someone unexpectedly. Anna appears in the night and greets her with a calm smile. Erica serves tea to Anna while she thanks her and notices the maid outfit. Anna calmly questions why she is being called master. Erica then smiles and says her words helped her accept herself and confess to Rod that night. She offers to show the result as Anna quietly agrees to take a look. Erica then asks her to wait and walks away. Anna confirms there is no mistake. She senses Moon's lingering presence and realizes he has been here before. Her eyes narrow as she detects the smell of blood mixed in the air. Erica returns calmly and apologizes for the wait. As she steps closer, Anna suddenly notices something unusual. Erica happily introduces Rod and presents him while he kneels with a blank look. She gently interacts with him as he responds obediently. Anna watches quietly as Erica praises him and treats him like a pet. Anna observes the situation and calmly notes what is happening. She then acknowledges her efforts while Erica humbly responds and praises her guidance. Anna calmly admits Erica has done even better while acknowledging her own mistake and letting Moon escape. Erica hesitates and asks if the person she means is Moon. Anna confirms it is him. She quickly asks if he came here as Erica nods and explains she found him and brought him home. She then adds that he was here earlier but has already left after she checked on a noise. Erica tells her it has been less than 2 hours. She confidently says she can track him and bring him back. She explains he cannot have gone far and prepares to cast a spell. Erica then leaves the room and tells her to wait. Anna quietly agrees and stays behind. Anna lies on the bed while questioning his escape. She pauses as she senses something nearby and looks up in confusion. She then notices Rod sitting on the floor. He comes back to his senses, then suddenly reacts as she looks in confusion. Rod panics and desperately tries to speak as fear takes over. Anna steps closer and calmly checks on him. Rod begs urgently and tells her to run as he realizes the danger. His voice breaks as he tries to warn her, but his strength fades. He weakens and loses control of himself again. Anna stands over him as he kneels weakly on the floor. She recalls Rod mentioning the last door and turns toward it. She walks down the hallway and finds the door. She tries the handle and realizes it is locked. Anna calmly uses her power and unlocks it without hesitation. She slowly opens the door and steps inside. Her eyes widen as she freezes in shock. Inside, bodies are piled together in a dark room. She realizes these are the missing villagers. She calls out Erica's name with a serious expression. Erica calmly walks deeper into the dark hallway and admits her secret has been discovered. She grips a knife and steps forward while claiming they are the same, asking for understanding. Her eyes glow as she declares her feelings with a chilling expression. Dark energy rises around her and calmly says she understands. Anna stares at Erica and questions if she has been corrupted by the evil god. Erica lowers her head and lets out a quiet laugh. She suddenly bursts into loud laughter as the red aura intensifies. She then looks up with glowing eyes and calmly defends her beliefs with a chilling smile. She calmly questions the cost behind Erica's power and listens as she explains it was given freely. She claims it only helped her understand herself better and insists they are the same. She raises her blade and steps forward while asking for acceptance. Anna closes her eyes and concludes that Erica is beyond saving. Erica continues approaching with a steady smile and threatening intent. She smiles brightly and believes she has been accepted. Anna suddenly lunges forward to strike, not giving Erica enough time to react. Erica coughs as she is struck and looks confused by the sudden turn. Her body staggers as she falls on the ground. Anna apologizes as she refuses to let Erica harm anyone else. Erica weakly insists she only shared her love. She raises her voice and firmly rejects that twisted belief. Erica lies there and questions what love truly is. Anna calmly explains that real love is not possession, but understanding the other person. She quietly apologizes before walking away from Erica's body. She steps outside into the night with a heavy expression. Anna reflects that this tragedy was caused by a corrupted belief that twists love into harm and blames herself. She decides to find Moon and return to give proper closure. A distant voice echoes with lingering obsession. The dark whispers echo around her as the same words repeat. A surge of red energy spreads and rises from the mansion. It gathers into a massive presence above the building. Anna looks up and identifies it as the evil god. Meanwhile, Moon moves out at high speed to escape. He stops to catch his breath and believes he has finally escaped. He wipes his sweat and relaxes as he sees no sign of pursuit. Suddenly, he senses danger and looks up in shock. Anna appears behind him after getting thrown from the mansion. He quickly raises his guard and blocks the strike while reacting in panic. He wonders if the falling streaks are some kind of meteor shower. He sharpens his gaze as he realizes he hears a voice. Moon focuses ahead and confirms it is a person calling out. Anna appears in front of him, dropping to her knees. She steadies herself and tells him she knew he was nearby. Moon approaches her and asks why she is injured. Anna stops him and says now is not the time for questions. She tells him she will hold the enemy back and urges him to run. A violent red surge suddenly erupts nearby as a distorted voice calls out to him. He turns and sees a massive red entity forming, pulsing with energy as it calls him to accept it. Moon stares at Erica, who turned into a monster. She recognizes him as she pulses with intense energy. Erica suddenly attacks using her limbs and blades in a violent surge. Moon braces himself, but he struggles to react in time. Anna appears and warns him to get out of the way immediately. Erica's attack explodes forward in a violent burst. She follows up with a sharp strike that cuts into Anna as she tries to move, but she quickly grabs Moon and pulls him away. They are sent flying as the force pushes them back. Moon looks at Anna in shock as he realizes she got hurt protecting him. Moon notices her leg is injured, but she insists she is fine. Anna pushes him back as she tells him to run while she holds Erica off. She reassures him that she will deal with Erica and come back for him. Anna turns to face the monster as she rises again. Erica surges forward with a terrifying presence as she prepares to attack both of them. She unleashes a massive beam while Anna stands her ground and raises a defensive barrier. Moon focuses and activates his ability. Shocking Anna, he moves instantly and reappears beside her at full power to dodge the attack. The impact sends shockwaves through the area as they escape the strike. Anna looks at him in confusion, but Moon tells her that he cannot just leave her to die. He carries her firmly as he declares he will handle this himself. Erica's power surges again and closes in as he moves while holding her. Moon lands and steadies himself while keeping her protected in his arms. Moon catches his breath. Anna looks at him with concern while he reassures her that they will be safe soon. He notices something behind them, showing Erica rising again as it calls out and prepares another attack. Moon tightens his hold on her and tells her to hold on and not let go. Erika lunges forward again as her red mass stretches toward them. Moon dives into the water while holding Anna as the attack crashes down. He realizes the creature cannot stay solid in water. Erika's body begins to break apart as she hits the water and loses her form. Moon suddenly turns and pauses in shock. Moon realizes Anna cannot swim as she begins to lose consciousness. He hesitates for a moment but then pulls her closer as he decides what to do. He leans in and shares air with her to keep her breathing underwater. Above them, Erika's form breaks apart and slowly reforms. She pauses as she notices the scent has disappeared and begins to look around. Erika grows frustrated as she questions why her feelings are not accepted. She unleashes a violent surge of attacks as her body expands and lashes out wildly. She then decides to move on and search for another target. She declares that she will return once she becomes stronger and disappears from the area. Moon brings her to a safe spot and tells her to endure the pain for a bit. She reacts to the pain but follows his lead as he finishes treating it. He explains the injury needs proper care later but confirms the bleeding has stopped. Anna looks at him in confusion. She then recalls what she did to him and assumes he should have abandoned her. Moon asks if she realizes her mistake now and listens as she admits her fault. Anna explains that the situation caused harm and accepts responsibility for what happened. She then reflects on her actions and admits she nearly caused his death. He reaches out and stops her. He clarifies that her feelings were not wrong, but the way she acted was the problem. Moon tells her she cannot act that way anymore as he confirms he is fine. Anna looks at him quietly as she listens to his words. He then closes his eyes and feels proud about himself. Anna suddenly reacts and leans into him as she tightly. Moon is caught off guard as she clings to him and refuses to let go. Anna admits her mistake as she reflects on her actions. She composes herself and prepares to move. She confirms her strength has returned and stands up with renewed focus. Anna suddenly feels the pain which worries him instantly. Moon warns him not to push herself since she is still weak. He confirms there is no movement as the area becomes quiet. Moon recalls what she said about Erika being a cultist. Anna explains that it is not just a cultist but something far more dangerous. He reflects on the fight and realizes her strength is still increasing. Moon understands the threat and begins to consider what this means moving forward. Moon recalls what Erika said about a sacrifice and realizes something is wrong. He explains that the destruction was likely part of a ritual to summon an evil god. He recalls that there was one more person needed for the sacrifice. Anna quickly realizes the implication and says the conditions may already be complete. Moon pauses as he realizes something. Anna realizes there is still one person alive in the village, and that is Erika's husband. They recall that once the ritual is complete, the entity will be at its weakest. Anna accepts responsibility for what happened and resolves to face it. He insists on going with her, but she refuses. The two argue while Moon tells her that he owes Erika a favor. He recalls her kindness, which makes him feel responsible. Moon decides to face it himself and says he will not accept any objections. Anna argues back and explains she cannot fully use her strength here and cannot guarantee his safety. Anna holds on to him and begs him not to go as she blames herself for everything. He questions her about her abilities and considers the situation. He then turns and calls out as he notices a coin nearby. Moon moves toward the source while Anna follows behind him in concern. Moon casts a light spell as the cave brightens around them. They discover a hidden area and realize there was a path forward all along. He examines the surroundings and finds signs that this place was once used by others. He takes a weapon and checks its condition as he prepares himself. He then looks at Anna and asks if she is ready. Anna declares she is ready as wings manifest behind her. The two prepare as they plan to give Erika redemption. Moon observes Erika's growing form. She calls out to Rod while her massive body shifts and spreads. Moon stands his ground and focuses as he prepares to confront it. He realizes that Anna was right and Erika's power has grown far beyond. Moon steadies his breath as he collects his thoughts. He shows a brief moment of frustration as he realizes the danger he is facing, but he quickly accepts the situation without backing down. Moon decides there is no other choice and resolves to finish this fight. He calls out to Erika and declares his intent to end it here. He spreads his arms and draws her attention as he prepares his next move. Erica mocks him as she waits for his response. Moon firmly rejects her love and makes his stance clear. He declares himself and commits to the fight without hesitation. Moon leaps forward and dives straight toward the battlefield, while Erica reacts as she prepares to face his incoming attack. She surges forward as she swings her massive form. Erica focuses on Moon and prepares to crush him as she closes the distance. Moon keeps his trajectory and continues descending from above. Moments before, he explained to Anna that Erica could not be defeated by normal means. The goal was not to defeat Erica directly, but to find the source of her power. He told her to clear a path while he moved in and searched for the power source. However, Anna refused to follow his direction, finding it dangerous, and suggested that they escape instead. Moon told her there were only two of them, so he would act as the bait. He smiled and entrusted the plan to her as he prepared to move. She looked at him with concern as she listened carefully. Anna asked when she should strike while waiting for his signal. He suddenly dives forward as he calls out for her to attack. Anna releases her power, then she steps forward as she prepares to act. She raises her hand and activates her ability with precision. Multiple projectiles form around her and launch forward in a rapid barrage. The attacks streak through the air and collide with Erica. Anna's barrage strikes Erica as multiple hits land across her body. She reacts to the impact and shifts as the attacks continue. Anna pushes forward through the opening and closes the distance. She drives her blade straight into her core in a decisive strike. Erica looks at her in surprise as she recognizes her presence. Anna looks at her and calmly says she has returned to save her. Erica's mass swells and spreads outward with overwhelming force. Anna bursts forward with her wings and crashes straight into it. She pushes deeper as the red tendrils close in around her. Anna steadies herself and gathers power as she forms sharp projectiles. She swings down the force and launches the attack forward. The attack slams into Erica and bursts on impact. Anna lands while facing her as the surface churns around her. Erica explains that silver is normally effective but has no effect this time, and she rises while declaring herself a god. Suddenly, she pauses after someone questions her. Moon leaps into the air and calls for an opening, and he spins down with a powerful strike into Erica's body. He sees the impact split something inside and believes the core should be exposed, and a sharp blade pierces into Erica's form. Anna reacts immediately and uses her Iron Emperor skill. Erica suddenly lashes out and strikes him directly, sending him crashing into the ground. He struggles as debris bursts around him, and he admits the attack nearly killed him and realizes he only survived because of Anna's protection. At the same time, a glowing red core forms as she reveals she has been waiting for him. Erica smiles and urges him to accept her as her. Anna rushes in while calling out to him, trying to reach him before it is too late. Erica moves calmly and warns her not to interfere, and she attacks as Anna charges straight toward her. Erica unleashes a heavy strike that slams into the ground, sending Anna flying back. She trembles and her eyes widen in shock. Erica quickly sees through it and realizes it was a trick, then narrows her gaze and demands to know where the other person is. Anna rushes in and clashes head-on with Erica while declaring her anger, and she follows with a fierce strike as she vows to cut her down. The impact explodes between them and sends debris flying, and Moon watches while injured as he steadies himself. A hand reaches and tells him not to move yet. Someone hands him a stamina potion and tells Moon to drink. The man turns out to be Rod, and Moon regains his breath while realizing he is still alive. He thanks Rod for saving his life and slowly stands up, and they formally introduce each other. Rod explains that Anna was losing against Erica. Moon asks him and says he should know the reason since he is her husband. Rod admits it is his fault and regrets realizing it too late, while Moon says they came back because letting her leave would end everything. Moon says the aura is overwhelming and concludes she destroyed the village and used someone as a sacrifice. They realize a sacrifice was used and recall seeing the aftermath of Erica killing someone. Then they identify the source of her power as the heart embedded in her chest. Erica cries out that she only wants her love accepted, then lashes out as she demands why everyone rejects her. She declares Moon and Rod are already gone and names him as the final sacrifice. Erica suddenly pauses while Rod pretends to be holding Moon hostage. Erica calls out to Rod while Anna panics and rushes forward while telling her to let go. Erica swings her massive arm while Anna gathers her power and blocks her attack. The impact is so powerful that Erica crushes Anna into the ground. Erica declares she will reunite with Rod and no longer needs Anna, then says she knew he loved her and claims the sacrifice is now complete. She approaches and touches him while insisting everything will return to how it was, and they will stay together. She then dismisses Anna as still being under control and says she will deal with her later and finally locks her gaze as Rod tells her that they will stay together forever. Rod regrets not realizing it sooner and accepts the situation, then steps forward and stabs into her as he says he will atone. Earlier, Moon warned the plan was too risky and said it would be hard to get close again. Rod explained her blood form was smaller than her true body, which was why she exposed herself to fight, and finally said this was the only way she could accurately target Anna while brushing it off calmly. Rod said he would act as the real bait and swore to hold it off even at the cost of his life. Moon told him not to say that while thanking him. Presently, Erica notices and calls out to Rod. Then he shouts in anger as he clashes with her again, while condemning the evil god. Moon forces the red mass out as she reacts violently. He locks on and grabs the core, then pulls it out while realizing it must be destroyed. Erica screams and tries to take it back, but Moon holds on despite the backlash tearing into him. Moon and Erica react in shock, seeing Rod between them and take the strike. Rod says he will stay with her until the end while her expression softens. Her body begins to collapse as the red energy breaks apart. Moon struggles to steady himself and questions the core. He senses something wrong and looks ahead. The red mass swells violently as Anna is caught inside the surge. Moon rushes forward in panic to reach her. He unleashes full power and fires into the red mass, then grabs onto it as it resists and pulls back. He shouts in anger while being dragged closer as it tries to swallow Anna. The monster forms a massive face and roars while he realizes there is no other choice, and he takes a gamble and calls out the Black Book. Moon cries for help as the red mass consumes him and begs for power, then suddenly appears inside a strange space and realizes it is the Black Book. He sees the book before him and asks if it can save Anna, and it responds as it begins to move toward him. He looks up in confusion as he senses something above him, then a massive fiery vortex opens in the space, and he reacts in shock as he realizes where he is. Moon stares ahead in shock as he senses the powerful entity. He clenches his teeth as the presence is revealed to be the King of Wither, a catastrophic being, then calls to his Black Book. Moon snaps in frustration after realizing that the Black Book introduces him to another evil god. Flames surge wildly around Moon while the god calls out to him. He quickly submits to the overwhelming presence and offers his cooperation. The blazing eye looms closer as it tempts him with power. Moon smiles nervously in response. Moon questions if this is really the way to save Anna and doubts replacing one evil with another, then he forces a grin as he admits that anyone would want power in this situation. The Black Book suddenly opens on its own as dark energy seeps out. The fiery eye reacts as flames surge violently while the presence grows more intense. Moon grows uneasy and senses the presence showing clear displeasure. He is caught off guard when it suddenly declares the transaction complete. Moon freezes in confusion as the fiery eye expands and offers its power, testing if he will truly accept it, and the flames intensify as the force of the evil god begins to merge with him. Moon admits he does not want to be tied to an evil power, but realizes he has no choice. If he wants to save Anna, then he steels himself and boldly calls out to the King of Wither. The blazing eye responds with interest and agrees to follow the contract, while the flames surge violently as the force fully descends upon him. Moon looks ahead in confusion as the presence leaves him with a cold and distant response. Moon screams in pain while the power floods his body and realizes this is the cost of taking that power. He steadies himself despite the agony and focuses on the overwhelming force, then launches forward through the raging flames as he declares his intent to fight back. The fiery entity reacts as the clash begins, and Moon pushes through the heat with sheer determination. A burst of blue energy collides against the raging red flames, and he charges through the air while facing the massive fiery entity. The god of love recognizes that overwhelming power. In the distance, Anna is unconscious as Moon tells her to wait for him. Moon finally confronts the god of love, noticing her fear in her face. Moon points out that it is only fair that the god of Wither can lend him power. He notes that he pays a huge price to gain recognition for his power, declaring that the fight should be over. He gathers the surging blue energy into a single point. The power condenses into a focused attack as he unleashes it forward, releasing a devastating strike. God of Love's distorted figure is consumed within the blast as she lets out a desperate scream. The energy continues to press down until the resistance fades, and Moon lowers his hand as he realizes the overwhelming power he now controls. He quickly realizes the enemy is still not fully gone. Then the weakened figure emerges and admits her plan was ruined by him. She recognizes him and leaves a final warning before her presence fades away into the smoke. Moon stands there in silence as the battlefield finally calms. He quickly denies the connection and brushes it off, then corrects that it should have been Ariel and not him. The last traces of the enemy disappear into the air as the battlefield returns to normal. Moon reflects on what just happened and realizes the danger has passed, though he acknowledges he may need to rely on that power again if it returns. He hears Anna call out and turns toward her, then quickly rushes over and pulls her into a tight embrace. She clings to him as she admits she thought she would lose him, and he reassures her that everything is over and she is safe now. She calms down and asks what happened. Moon decides to keep the deal with the evil god a secret to avoid worrying her and explains that the threat is resolved. Anna listens closely as he reminds her there is still something important they need to do, then they both turn as they look at Erica. She is still barely holding on, prompting them to rush over. Erica weakly calls Anna, then asks if everything is finally over. She confirms the evil influence is gone, and she relaxes slightly before apologizing for hiding the truth from her. Erica explains her actions were driven by fear of losing Anna, and she tries to justify what happened. Erica explains she acted that way because she wanted to keep up with Rod and had been hiding her feelings, then calmly states that she did not fail. She recalls confessing to Rod but being unable to stay with him and reveals the reason is because Tia is already carrying his child, knowing Rod chose responsibility over his feelings for Erica. Hannah questions the situation and Erica admits her doubts. She then reveals she turned to the evil god to confirm the truth. She recalls making that wish which led to a violent outcome she cannot undo. Erica learned that everything was built on a lie and accepted the consequences. Realizing too late how far things have gone, Rod saw what happened, so Erica made a second wish again for Rod to accept her love. Erica wishes she met Anna earlier, then she cries as she regrets not confessing her love for Rod before. She hopes that Anna can also find happiness to prove her wrong, that love can also bring beautiful things. In a quiet plain, Erica and Rod's graves lie side by side beneath the open sky. Anna says she is fine now as she prepares to move forward. Moon goes next to her as Erica and Rod's names rest on the marker. They quietly pay their respects, and Moon brushes it off as the matter is officially settled. He notices something is bothering Anna and asks what is wrong. She admits she has been thinking about Erica and realizes she has been wrong. Anna questions if what she feels is truly love. Moon considers it and suggests she may have mistaken possessiveness for love. She reflects on his words as they both struggle to clearly define the difference, realizing how easily emotions can be misunderstood. Moon looks up at the clear sky and wonders what love truly is, then turns to her and asks if she has anything more to say. Anna hesitates and recalls a moment when he once suggested they could be together, then gathers her courage and asks if they can start over. Moon pauses briefly and she quickly follows up by confirming their next destination. She shyly explains she will continue serving him, but hesitates as she tries to express her feelings. Moon suddenly reaches her hand and stops her mid-sentence. He gently leads her forward without hesitation, and he tells her they are going home. Anna smiles softly as they continue walking, while he feels relieved knowing things ended without further trouble. He reflects that the outcome has changed and the worst case no longer exists. He lies down after returning home. As the moment settles, he suddenly feels a familiar dizziness as everything fades around him. He questions what caused everything to rewind, then suddenly realizes he is restrained as he regains consciousness. He looks around in confusion as Anna appears and calmly explains she brought him somewhere private to avoid interference. He accepts the situation and admits he understands, then asks her directly why she brought him here. She reminds him of what he said before and tries to jog his memory. Then he slowly recalls the moment and asks for his clothes. She steps closer and begins preparing them while adjusting everything carefully, then changes into a different outfit and presents herself, clearly following what she remembers about his preference. Anna asks for his reaction as she presents herself, and he stares blankly before giving a simple response. She then admits she has reflected on her past behavior and acknowledges her mistake, taking responsibility for how she acted. She pauses and waits for his answer while staying close to him. She tells him she will follow whatever he wants and leaves the choice entirely to him. Morning arrives at the mansion as she wakes up late and quickly gathers herself. Realizing she overslept, she reacts after not seeing Moon beside her. She immediately dresses up and hears a strange sound echoing through the room. Anna looks around in confusion while Noelle asks how she feels. She explains that Moon told them that Anna had been resting earlier due to not feeling well. She looks at the cats and begins to realize they were brought by Moon earlier that morning. Winnie explains that the cats are strays she has been caring for and hopes to find them a proper home. She shares that Moon gave her money for school and helped her. Anna questions if having several cats is too much, but learns they were all brought together so they would not be separated. Monica, the other maid, assures Winnie that Moon allowed visits anytime. Anna then asks where he is and is told he just returned and should be in his room. She heads to his door and calls out as Moon tells her to come in. He explains he saw her sleeping earlier and chose not to wake her. She suddenly rushes forward and hugs him tightly in relief. Anna tells him he scared her and thought he had gone back to the college without telling her. He reassures her that he will say goodbye first. Anna then asks why he went to the market and came back with so many cats, and Moon explains it started when she mentioned wanting one. He shows her a small cat and calls it Momo. He then hands it over as a gift and she hesitates in surprise. He explains he will return to the college soon and cannot bring her along, so she will need to stay and handle matters at the mansion. She gently holds the cat close while calling out to him softly. She smiles and promises to take good care of it as she accepts the gift. At night, Moon lies on his bed reading. He reflects that his abilities have improved and that the recent incident helped him restore Anna to normal. He then realizes the prophecy has changed and believes he can avoid danger as long as he is careful. He pauses and wonders who could be visiting at this hour. Anna appears at the door and asks if he is still awake. She hesitates at the door as she thinks about him leaving soon. He tells her she can sleep in his room again since she stayed the night before. She sits on the bed and admits she feels the same as before. He suddenly moves closer and stops her. Moon smiles and suggests doing something else instead. Anna lies beside him and quietly asks if this is enough for him. He reassures her and calmly explains that what matters is understanding each other. She moves closer and admits she does not want to be apart from him. She says even a few months feels too long, while he gently tells her to write to him if she misses him. He suddenly pauses as if sensing something unusual. A strange message appears in the black book, which indicates that Moon will continue to suffer. Meanwhile, at Santa Maria College's women's bath, Ariel jumps in excitement as she realizes she has returned, then water splashes as she lands back inside the bath. Ariel relaxes in the bath and says coming back early was worth it because the place is comfortable. Lily reminds her the school has not officially started and they should stay quiet, but Ariel reassures her that most teachers have not returned yet, so it is still safe. Ariel notices her hair has become lighter and points it out, making her realize it herself and question the change. Lily grows uneasy as the topic shifts to Moon, who has golden hair, but Ariel reassures her it means nothing and calmly dismisses the concern. Ariel smiles and comforts her that nothing will change how she feels, which finally eases her worries. Ariel suddenly gets annoyed as she recalls the incident and warns her to stay away from Moon. Lily explains the assassination was avoided because of Celia and that she was asked to treat him afterward. She recalled Moon heavily injured as she kept him alive until help arrived. Ariel admits he was brave for protecting the princess but still dislikes him. She admits his actions do not match his usual personality and questions his behavior, then calms down and decides to drop the topic as they continue relaxing in the bath. Ariel casually brings up a question she has been holding for a while and asks about a strange change, which gets brushed off with a simple answer. Time passes and they finally return to the academy. Moon arrives at the academy and is impressed by how grand it looks, then thinks that as long as he avoids trouble, everything should go smoothly while students rush past him, and he pauses to observe the lively campus. Moon notices a commotion ahead and asks what is going on, only for Ariel to confront Eamon, one of Moon's followers, and accuses him of causing trouble again. Amon rudely points at Ariel and insults her background, but she calmly shuts him down and tells him to leave if he has nothing better to do. Iman smirks and drops the act as he steps forward, then boldly declares a challenge in front of everyone, leaving her confused. The crowd murmurs as they question the unfair challenge, while Moon observes calmly and realizes she is constantly surrounded by trouble. Ariel remains composed and points out Amon has already challenged her multiple times before, but he insists this time will be different as he confidently declares himself as Campbell's wolf and threatens her. Leaving Moon surprised by the sudden intensity, Ariel accepts the challenge and prepares to respond. Then the crowd suddenly reacts and recognizes Moon among the crowd. He is shocked and questions why he is being treated as the mastermind. Everyone notices Moon and calls his name as he arrives. The girls whisper and spread rumors about him taking girls away. They continue linking disappearances and abandoned places to him. Moon walks forward and feels uncomfortable being blamed. Suddenly, someone spots him and calls out as he arrives. Ariel says he is still useless and questions his actions. Moon reacts calmly and calls her behavior malicious. Ariel stares back coldly and says it suits him. The crowd watches as tension rises and they wonder if he will start a fight or challenge her. Ariel is suddenly flustered, seeing Moon apologize to her. She looks surprised and silent, while Amon angrily steps in and questions why Moon would apologize. Amon declares he came to challenge Ariel to restore his pride, but Moon looks at him and asks if someone told him to do this. Amon hesitates and admits it was his own idea with no one behind it. He is then called over and scolded for causing trouble without reason. He tells Amon to apologize, then hands him money to settle the situation and clear the crowd. Amon is left stunned as he realizes Moon just called him his brother. Ariel questions what he plans to do as the tension peaks. The students suddenly bow and loudly apologize to her, then repeat it as others follow. Amon quickly disperses the crowd and tells everyone to leave. Ariel casually questions the situation while he stands beside her. Moon then faces her and calmly says he has changed and wants to make things right. Ariel questions his sincerity as he insists on apologizing in front of everyone. He puts on a serious act, then suddenly bows and continues apologizing. She quickly stops him, embarrassed by the scene he is causing. He awkwardly tries to explain himself as the situation grows more uncomfortable. Moon suddenly makes an inappropriate remark and steps closer. He continues speaking in a strange and awkward way, which only irritates her more. Ariel immediately hits him and knocks him back. She stands over him angrily and calls out his behavior. Moon quickly backs down and apologizes again while assuring her he will not cause trouble anymore. Moon explains he planned to apologize properly but had nothing suitable to offer, and Ariel accepts the simple gesture he offers instead. He promises to make it up to her in the future as he turns to leave. Moon calmly states his apology was sincere and does not expect forgiveness. He says goodbye and expresses hope they can move on as normal classmates. Ariel stays silent for a moment, then looks confused as she processes everything. She suddenly calls out to stop him and rushes after him. Moon pauses and turns his head as she calls his name. She runs toward him at full speed while shouting for him to stop. Ariel casually accepts the idea of taking the money as a gift. Meanwhile, Nana observes from above and comments on the situation with interest. She then smirks and considers secretly targeting Moon and brushing it off as something that will not cause problem. The elders observe from a distance and note that the situation has already settled. Plan, head of the magic department, discusses what just happened and questions why he is still with her despite everything. Glenn from the potions department comments that Moon's actions are unusual and worth watching. Plan reacts in shock and refuses to believe what he saw. They recall Moon's past behavior and note how arrogant he used to be. Some students run off while others recall the ridiculous things he did last year. Moon stays calm as someone reads his lips and claims he has already changed. Plan argues about it as he strongly denies the possibility. Glenn points out the obvious bias, while Plan becomes furious and calls him a disgrace. Glenn questions why he remains in the academy despite lacking talent and suggests sending him elsewhere. Plan argues he has not broken any rules and reminds them of his background and family influence. They consider the political impact of his position and connections. They then observe his recent actions and note the small but unusual changes in his behavior. Glenn reacts with interest as he continues watching Moon closely. They are shocked to see him bowing to the statue of the first dean. Moon casually explains it while acting respectful. He then reveals he accidentally damaged the statue and tries to cover it up. He sincerely apologizes and promises to make up for it in the future. The elders are stunned and praise his behavior, noting how rare it is to see someone show such respect. Glenn mocks the claim and dismisses it as meaningless after just one day. Plan insists a person's nature cannot change so easily and decides to keep watching him. Glenn laughs it off but remains curious about what will happen next and then remarks that the upcoming entrance exam will be interesting. Moon arrives at the dorm and receives the key to his room. He politely thanks the dorm supervisor and leaves a good impression. The staff watch him and question why he is acting so differently. She notes how unusually polite and charming Moon has become. He then enters his room and is surprised by how large it is. He walks into his room and reflects on how familiar yet strange it feels. He relaxes on the bed and enjoys the comfort. He plans to clean up and rest before the ceremony. He takes a shower and checks himself in the mirror. Moon examines his body and notes how much stronger it has become. He suddenly senses something unusual and checks his back. He realizes a strange mark is still there and begins to worry. He recalls there were no records about it and questions why it remains. He then looks at it seriously as mentions the King of Wither. Moon tests a small flame and notes it is weaker than before. He blows it out and realizes it only lasts briefly. He recalls how this power works and understands it requires a cost to keep using it. He refuses to rely on it and decides to focus on his own path instead. He then picks up the black book and prepares to use it as part of his plan. Moon admits he is still too weak and decides to focus on properly learning magic during his time here. He then activates the black book and begins using it to improve faster. His body responds as the power takes effect. He recalls past battles and the growth he gained through repeated fights. He prepares to fight with the reanimated version of Rod and asks him to show his tricks. Later that night, Ariel is visited and asked about what happened earlier. Lily talks about how Moon suddenly apologized and how quickly the news spread. Ariel admits it caught her off guard. Lily reacts with surprise and questions if the story is actually true. Ariel says many people witnessed it and confirms it is not just gossip. She then questions a strange rumor and brings out the school newspaper. The article claims false information about her and Moon, which makes her react angrily. Lily explains the rumor spread and how it was tied to his apology. Ariel calms herself and decides to confront the source of the rumor. Lily denies the claim and clarifies their relationship. She reacts while Ariel suddenly lunges forward in frustration. She then backs off and tells her to stop while still clearly upset. Lily leaves after confirming things are fine and wishes her good night. She plans to continue training before resting. After Ariel is alone, she lies down and thinks about the situation ahead. She realizes she now has to handle both school and making money. She then vents her frustration and shouts in anger. Ariel asks her master if there is any other way to make money besides the black market. Linda appears and teases her situation while responding calmly. She explains there are many ways to earn money, but the current situation makes it difficult. Ariel stretches and recalls the risks of using powerful methods. Linda suggests learning ordinary magic instead, but Ariel refuses. Ariel reflects on how things went wrong and regrets not acting sooner. Linda then suggests a simple way for her to make money. She brings up his promise to make up for the apology. Ariel immediately rejects the idea and refuses to accept money for it. Linda continues to tempt her with a larger amount, but she firmly refuses and insists it is a matter of principle. Linda finds her reaction amusing but notes it is a missed opportunity. She then admits he seems sincere today. Meanwhile, Moon reads while lying down and looks exhausted. In the morning, Plan walks through the campus as usual and reflects that hard work pays off. He notices the grounds are empty and thinks this year's new students are not impressive. He recalls how the older generation used to wake up early to train unlike the current ones, then sighs as the opening ceremony is only 2 hours away and no one is awake. Suddenly, Moon dashes past him at full speed on the track. Plan notices him and grows curious as he observes more closely. He praises the student's discipline and considers him a good example for others. He calls out to the one running on the track and asks him to come over. Moon stops and greets Plan calmly. Suddenly, Plan is shocked as he realizes he is talking to Moon. He explains he is just doing his morning run while wiping his sweat. He adds that even light exercise helps lift his mood before class. Plan questions his reasoning but listens as he speaks. He then says he still has 3 kilometers left and will continue running before leaving. Plan watches him run off and grows suspicious of his sudden change. He concludes Moon is not ordinary and decides to keep a close eye on him. Arya rushes through the hallway while holding documents, looking panicked. She arrives at the student union and hopes she is not late. She peeks inside but is immediately told she is 5 minutes late. Inside, Celia sits calmly at the desk as Arya quickly apologizes. She corrects her and tells her to stop using formal titles in school, then reminds her to address her properly. Arya hands over the collected information of the new students while Celia calmly reviews documents at her desk. She mentions she is preparing a speech and points out Arya's tired appearance. Arya nervously reacts as she realizes it was noticed. Celia questions if she stayed up reading novels again and warns that such stories could affect her discipline. She then considers banning those books, causing Arya to panic and beg her not to. Celia stands by the window as the breeze flows in and calmly reflects that spring has arrived earlier than usual. Arya listens and mentions that it was still snowing in her hometown when she returned. She then reaches up to clean the shelves, but suddenly hears someone call out to her. She pauses and turns back with a confused look. Arya notices Celia staring and asks what she is looking at, then sees Moon. She reacts with annoyance and assumes he caused trouble again. Arya questions why Celia does not know about it, but she simply admits she has no idea. Realizing something, Arya rushes off to get a newspaper she forgot to submit. She returns with it and shows a report about Moon bowing his head in apology. Arya explains the article claims Moon abandoned Ariel and even had a child with her. She adds more exaggerated rumors about his involvement with many people. As she continues, Celia suddenly strikes her to stop her from going further. She then points out the report is clearly exaggerated and unreliable. She reminds her to check the fine print at the end where it states the article is only speculation. Celia flicks Arya's head and tells her to stop reading such nonsense. Arya nods and says she will remember it. She then asks if they should take action against the news agency, and Celia calmly agrees to handle it. She states that she will not allow reckless behavior or public opinion to be used against any student. She remains firm and tells him that fixing mistakes alone is not enough and urges him to prove himself. As Moon continues running, Celia pushes him to prove he is worthy of her expectations. At the auditorium, students gather as Moon enters and walks through the seats. A few girls notice him and whisper as they recognize he is an upperclassman. They admire his appearance as he calmly adjusts his uniform. He looks over and gives a small smile, catching their attention. He then scans the room and carefully looks for his assigned seat. As he walks in, a group quickly calls out to him excitedly. Hammond and Gru are surprised he showed up early. Moon casually says he is only here for the ceremony and to see his brothers. They look at him with admiration as he speaks calmly. Suddenly, they become emotional and loudly express their loyalty to him. Ariel suddenly scolds the noisy group and warns them that the ceremony is about to begin. They quickly quiet down and apologize as she glares at them. She turns away with a cold expression as the atmosphere settles. Moments later, an announcement echoes through the auditorium, ordering everyone to remain silent as the opening ceremony begins. Arya announces that Celia will give a speech for the new students. Celia steps onto the stage with a composed expression. The students watch in awe as they see her for the first time and quietly admire her presence. They begin discussing the student union and consider joining it. Moon observes from his seat and starts thinking about her role, but suddenly reacts as something catches his attention. Moon suddenly notices Celia looking in his direction and feels uneasy. His followers ask if something is wrong and even offer to switch seats, but Moon refuses. On stage, Celia begins her speech and greets the students. Moon listens briefly but finds it no different from ordinary school speeches and loses interest. Celia continues her speech and states her goal to study and graduate successfully. She reminds everyone to stay disciplined and follow the academy's expectations. Suddenly, a voice interrupts and draws attention from the crowd. An announcement follows, instructing all students to return to their seats and maintain order. A staff member then confirms everything is under control and prepares to proceed with the next part of the ceremony. A pink bear introduces itself as the new acting dean and briefly explains the situation. It casually tells the students not to bring their problems to it and quickly ends the speech. The crowd is left confused as it wraps things up abruptly. Moon watches with a stunned expression and questions what kind of dean this is. His attention then shifts as she wonders where the previous dean is. The pink bear acts strangely. Celia approaches it calmly as it questions her presence and suggests she might cause trouble. She responds that she has no intention of causing any issues and remains composed. It continues speaking oddly, but she stays unfazed and listens. The pink bear denies knowing anything. Celia turns and leaves and connects it to the dean's long-term research and realizes the matter is extremely serious. As she walks forward, she quietly suspects it may be related to the evil gods. Moon walks outside while reviewing the course options. He realizes most subjects are not suitable for him and decides to focus on rebuilding his foundation in magic. He looks through the schedule and quickly makes his choice. He selects the Introductory Magic Fundamentals class as his first step. He decides to change his future and become a completely different person within 3 years. In class, the lesson begins as Moon listens while struggling to follow the explanation. He finds the concepts confusing when combined together. As the teacher invites questions, he raises his hand. The trainee teacher, Fran, notices him and recognizes his name. She recalls his bad reputation and wonders why he suddenly showed up to class. Fran freezes for a moment as she recalls Moon's reputation and grows nervous. She quickly regains composure and asks what his question is. He calmly questions why they started with advanced material instead of the earlier basics in the book. She hesitates and admits those parts were already taught in first grade, freezing him in shock. The class reacts with quiet laughter at his question while he remains calm. Fran tries to move on and continue the lesson. Suddenly, he calls out to her again and gets her attention. He then asks if she can tutor him privately and requests to set a price for it. Fran panics after hearing his request and loudly reacts. The class begins whispering and assumes he has improper intentions toward her. She struggles to respond and nervously refuses. As she gets overwhelmed, she suddenly loses balance and falls off the platform. Moon quickly calls out to her as she drops. Moon quickly catches Fran before she hits the ground and checks if she is alright. She panics and tries to explain while flustered from the situation. At that moment, Celia arrives with Arya for a routine inspection. He looks up and recognizes her as she questions what he is doing. Fran quickly apologizes and takes the blame while Moon calmly steps back. Celia tells her to return to class first and not delay the students. She then asks him if he truly only wants tutoring. He explains he lacks basic knowledge and only wants proper guidance. She warns him about disrupting class but lets it pass as a misunderstanding, then advises him to observe and learn from first-year students instead. With that, she turns and leaves with Arya. Moon reflects on Celia's advice and agrees that relearning the basics is the fastest solution. He struggles with the idea but realizes his biggest problem is time. He then comes up with a plan to use the library and study efficiently. Confident in his idea, he heads straight toward the library. Nana is in the library complaining about the cold while holding a book, then suddenly notices something nearby. She looks over and spots Moon reading quietly between the shelves. Recognizing him, she becomes curious and decides to approach him out of boredom. In the library, Moon begins studying on his own and records the content from books. He plans to use a time difference method to learn faster and pushes himself to focus. After several minutes, he tests the method but quickly realizes it does not work as expected. Frustrated, he stops and admits the approach is flawed. He recalls how the time difference problem makes training dangerous as enemies can suddenly appear during practice. He admits he cannot focus on studying at all and starts to feel frustrated. He pauses and realizes he still needs a teacher but does not know who to turn to. He remembers that private tutoring is not allowed and considers alternatives. Then he suddenly realizes that what he needs is only theoretical knowledge. And if he learns it quickly, he can still become strong without relying on teachers. Moon looks around the library and starts carefully considering his options. He notices a quiet girl studying on her own and observes her for a moment. After thinking it through, he decides she is the right choice and approaches her directly. She greets him calmly, though she still looks confused by his sudden presence. He smiles slightly as he recognizes her. Sally is startled when he calls out to her, then greets him nervously. She tries to leave, but he quickly stops her. He assures her he means no harm and asks for her help. He brings up private tutoring and offers a reward, leaving her confused. She suddenly recalls how he mistreated her before. He offers to pay any price if she agrees to tutor him. She suddenly hits him and gets angry. Sally scolds him and calls him shameless. She storms off and leaves him behind. He just sits there, confused by her reaction. Nana steps in and calmly reminds them to keep quiet in the library, her tone firm but composed. She calls out to him and draws his attention. He turns and recognizes her right away. She asks what happened, and he explains the situation in detail. She listens carefully without interrupting, then concludes it was just a misunderstanding and gently eases the tension. Nana stops him and uses magic to heal his injury, restoring it in an instant. She reassures him while he watches calmly. He asks if healing can be done without chanting, and she gives a simple and direct answer. He takes note of it and begins thinking it through. She then reminds him to take better care of his body before casually pointing out that he is already well known in the academy. He asks why she is not avoiding him like the others. She explains that most people see him as trouble and choose to keep their distance. She adds that they fear what he might do, so staying away feels safer to them. She leans in and quietly challenges him, watching his reaction closely.